Yes, Jeannie, good evening. Everybody present over there. Chili, good evening to everyone. Now, in the last lecture, we did the topic of, yes, good evening, Hemant. We did the topic of exemption. Anybody has any questions in any part of exemption? I'll first take up that before I proceed to the next topic. Anybody? Yes, Hemant, please go ahead, beta. Can you unmute and speak? Hemant?
Sir, could you see my message? I have.
Let me again check, beta. I just saw yes, sir. Only yes, sir, I'm seeing, beta.
Oh, is this a long message? I don't.
So you can just speak out. No, not a problem. Tell me.
Okay, sir. Uh, Sir, this is regarding serial number 41A and 41B.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically talking about that TDR rights, transfer of development rights.
Okay, beta.
Now, see, there is. I visualize there should be three cases.
ठीक है, go ahead.
I'm trying to send these three cases to you so that
No
it
problem,
becomes
beta. It may come in a time. In the meantime, you can tell me, na, what are your
okay.
issues? You can tell me.
Okay, sir. See, the landowner transfers development rights and the promoter builds it, and 100%. See, the case one is I'm saying there will be three parties: landowner, promoter, and the buyer.
Hmm.
Now, the case one, what I visualize is um, so what happens if the promoter builds, and during that building time he has got 100% booking.
Hmm.
So what would be the GST if it is
GST.
100%?
Hmm.
If it is 100% booking before completion certificate is obtained, there
Hmm.
should be GST. Am I right, sir?
100% the GST on the constructed property sold, correct?
Yes.
So let us say I'm selling these flats, correct? So if
Yes.
I'm selling flats, flat becomes my constructed property. And if I get booking of these flats 100%, let us say there is a scheme of 50 flats and all these
Yes.
flats have a booking before completion certificate, then GST is applicable on all the 50 flats, correct? Go ahead.
Now, okay. Now, what would be the who will pay GST uh, and what is it? See, there is something called the landowner gives the service of transferring the development rights, and the builder transfers the buildings to not transfer. He has agreed to sell these flats to the buyer.
Correct.
So there will be two GSTs.
Correct. Correct. You are
See,
right.
the landowner should charge the GST to the builder, and builder in turn will charge the GST to the buyer.
Correct.
Am I
Now
am
see,
I
now
right?
see, you are 100% right. Just one point I would like to add in this. As you have pointed out, I have opened that entry also, which would be visible on the screen. This entry is providing exemption, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it is providing exemption for what? It is providing exemption for this TDR only. So in your
Yes.
example, you rightly pointed out there are two transactions. One is transfer of TDR by the landowner, correct?
Yes.
And the second transaction is sale of the constructed property, that is flats, by the builder, correct?
Correct.
Now, in this example, there is exemption. That is what is this entry dealing with. There is exemption for the transfer of this TDR by the landowner if your entire flats are sold out before completion, as you can see. So in our example, there are 50 flats. If entire 50 flats are sold out before completion, then only the builder is the person who is paying tax on the sale of flats. There is exemption on the TDR part of this particular case.
Okay, so that means what can I say? The builder will give the money to the landowner without any GST.
Anyways, builder will never give GST to the landowner because try to recall RCM entry. The same point is in RCM entry also that if let us say there is a tax, that is if this does not happens, the flats are not sold before completion and hence this exemption does not apply. In effect,
Correct.
there is a tax on the TDR. In that case
Okay.
also, the tax is not payable by the landowner, it is payable by the builder under RCM.
Okay, okay. Ashim, correct,
So
correct.
even if there has to be a tax on the development rights, it will be borne by the builder only and it will be paid by the builder under RCM. So the builder
Okay.
never has to give the money to the landowner.
Okay. So in this case, because it is booking is already done for all the flats, so there it is exempt from GST.
Correct?
Okay. What about the buyer side? When the because the sale agreement is already done, that means booking means sale agreement has already been done. So during that, what is that in the sale agreement? Will that be GST be a component?
Okay. Now see, the sale agreement is for sale of flats.
Correct. Between
Exemption is
builder.
not for sale of flats. Exemption is only for the TDR, which is between landowner and the builder.
Oh,
Correct?
okay, okay,
So
okay,
that is
sir.
exempt.
Okay,
But the
okay.
second part, that is between builder and the customer, which is of the flat.
Okay.
There is always be GST of 1% or 5% depending upon the nature of flat.
Right, right. So that means the builder will get all the ITC for all his building materials and all that.
Again, don't mix. See, for residential projects,
Okay,
where the rate is 1% and 5%, there is a
okay,
blocking of ITC. ITC is allowed only for commercial projects.
okay, okay, okay,
So that is again
okay,
important. Residential
okay,
projects, ITC is not allowed.
right. And what would be the charge of GST, sir, when the landowner builder sells the flats to the buyer?
1%, 5%.
Oh, okay, okay.
If it is
Now,
affordable house, it is 1%. If it is not affordable house,
okay,
then it is
okay,
5%.
okay. Now, if it is 50% is booked, what will
Ha.
happen?
Now, for 50%, let us not take 50, let us take 60, correct?
Okay, okay,
So
okay,
out of 50 flats, 30 are booked before completion, right?
okay, okay,
So for 30 flats, builder is going to charge GST at the rate of 1%, 5% to the buyer of the flat because it is before completion,
okay, okay.
correct?
Yes.
No doubts in this, correct?
And what about TDR?
So that's what I'm coming, beta. That's what I'm
Oh,
coming. Let us go step by step. So
okay.
out of 50 flats, 30 flats sold,
Yes, during during construction. Yes,
right? Now,
yes.
in this particular project, what is the builder going to give to the landowner? Because landowner has given TDR. So what will builder give to the landowner?
That say for example, 10 flats he gives, for
Correct.
example.
So in this case, 30 flats builder has sold outside. He is paying
Correct.
GST. 10
Right.
flats, which he is going to give to the landowner. On
Correct.
that also, he will charge GST because it is as good as selling the flats only, like how he has sold 30 flats to outsider, 10 flats he has sold to the
Okay.
landowner, correct?
Okay. Okay.
Now, out of 60 flats, 50 flats, 30
Right.
outside tax paid,
Yes.
10 to
Yes.
build landowner tax paid,
Right.
and for balance 10 flats,
Yes.
this exemption will not apply because this exemption applies only when all the flats are sold before completion, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
for balance 10 flats, the builder will pay tax of this TDR, which will be under RCA.
Sir, TDR value, how it is determined? The
The
TDR
value
value.
will be for the total TDR, correct?
Yes.
We will find out the value. Now the total TDR is of 50 flats
Okay.
because for this particular line, total construction is 50 flats.
Okay.
So
So,
it
sir,
means
I have read somewhere that the value of these 50 flats, and from that value, the land cost will be deducted. Am I right, sir?
no, beta. We are mixing different things, beta. We have to first understand which taxability we are talking about. If you are talking about TDR taxability, TDR itself is land. So how you will deduct the land cost? What you have
Oh,
read, what you have
oh,
read that you deduct the land cost, that is for the sale of flats. So when you are
oh,
selling the flats, the
okay.
flat includes the land component also.
Yes, yes,
From the flat value, you deduct the land portion.
yes, yes.
But when we are on the TDR valuation, we don't do that.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So that means if suppose the land value is 100 rupees, out of that 30, no, this 10 flats which the builder gives to the owner, that 10 will be within that booking period, within that construction
Yes, yes,
period,
that is
sir?
assumption because that is given
Okay,
outright, na? Right from the start,
okay,
he has given.
okay. So the TDR value will be divided in 40 is to 10. Am I right?
Yes, so only on the unsold flat portion, that is the 10 flats which are unsold, we will find
Correct.
out the proportionate TDR value and we'll pay the tax.
Okay, sir. Okay.
There is another value for that. Instead of finding out the value of TDR, we can also find out the value of those 10 flats at the time
Okay.
of completion.
Okay.
And we can calculate this 1%, 5% on those 10 unsold flats. That is another way of paying tax on the TDR.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And suppose that nothing is booked, what will happen to that case?
Same rule applies. Now, if out of 50, nothing is booked, but 10
Yeah.
flats anyways, he's going to give to the landowner.
Okay, okay. That will
So
come
for
with
that
that
10
booking
flats,
period.
it is anyways taxable because it is sold right from the beginning.
Okay, okay,
And for balance 40 flats, which are of the which are of the builder, you
okay.
will find out the proportionate value of TDR and you will pay the tax.
That 1%, 5%.
Yeah, means there are two values. One is the proportionate value of TDR, or you pay tax on the flat value at the rate of 1%, 5%, whichever is lower. So generally this
Oh,
1%, 5% only is lower.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, understood, sir. Understood.
Great. Should we proceed? Should we proceed, students? Great. So we have Mansha, we have Mitali, we have Ginny, we have Hemant. Great. Let us go ahead then. Now, anybody, any other questions on exemption part or anything that is covered till now in GST? If you have any questions or doubts, let me know, please. Now, the topic that we are starting today, as you can see on your screens, is the topic of time of supply. Now, let us first understand what is the concept of time of supply. So, we know supply is our taxable event. That is, it is that particular transaction on which GST is attracted. That is, in very simple words, supply. So, supply is the taxable event of GST. It is a transaction on which GST is attracted, GST is applicable. But this transaction has many legs. Now, I'll explain what I mean by legs. So, let us take a very simple example. As a chartered accountant, you have hired me, you are a private limited company or a public limited company. You want your audit to be done by me. In this particular transaction, I say that, okay, the fees for this audit would be 2 lakhs. 50% you have to pay advance today. Today is 12th of December. I will come and I will do audit in the month of, let us say, January. It will go up to February. The audit will take 2 months. The audit will get completed in 2 months. And in the month of March, I will raise the invoice, and somewhere in the month of April or May, you will make the balance payment. Now, there is one single transaction of audit, but it has multiple legs. Legs means stages or multiple subparts. What are these subparts? One is the actual transaction, actual supply, which is the audit. But the other legs are the invoicing, that is the documentation which is prepared, and the other leg is the payment. So generally every transaction has three legs generally. In case of goods, there may be one more leg, that is when the goods are actually delivered. So different transactions may have different legs, but minimum three legs are always there. First leg is the documentation, that is when invoicing is done, when the records are prepared. Another leg is the payment. When the payment is made, it can be made before or after. And the third leg is the actual performance of the supply. Now, in my example, my transaction of supply has having these legs which are spread over 4-5 months, starting from December. Something has happened in December that you have contracted with me. we have entered into this audit assignment. So there may be some formal agreement also, which we both sign. So we agree to perform this particular supply where I am the supplier, you are the recipient. Also, there is a token or advance payment. Then in the month of January, February, the actual services are performed. That is another leg. And the third leg happens in March, where I raise the invoice after completion of audit. And then balance leg is you complete the balance payment. Now, what is time of supply? When this one transaction is there, where we know the value is 2 lakhs, on 2 lakhs, 18% is the tax. The question is, out of all these months, in which month the tax liability is payable? In which month the liability triggers? I'm using the word trigger because the transaction is having connect with 5 months, starting from December and ending with April. But exactly out of these 5 months, in which month or months I have to go and pay the tax on this supply transaction. So there is supply, which is the first leg. The other leg is the transaction being performed in these different legs, which is represented by payment, which is represented by performance of that activity, and which is represented by the documentation. Now, time of supply basically tells you, out of all these legs, when does the liability to pay tax triggers? So first understand the meaning, concept, idea of time of supply. So time of supply is the triggering of your taxability. So once you have made a supply, there is a tax, no doubt. So tax is freezed. Liability is there. But the question is timing, due date, let us say. So by what or in which period my liability will crystallize, will materialize, and I will become liable to pay. That is what is time of supply. So firstly, have you understood the meaning and concept of time of supply? The law says it is the point in time when the liability to pay tax arises. And I have explained you why this question comes, because a transaction has multiple legs and these legs may be spread in different months. So as a supplier, as a taxable person, the biggest question which I face is which month my liability is arising out of all these months. That is what is fixed. That is what is decided by time of supply. So time of supply chapter will help me understand that for this supply, for this audit transaction, when I should pay the tax, in which month. That is the main question answered by time of supply. So firstly, have you understood this basic point? Because many times we read time of supply, but we study time of supply very theoretically. So I'm first trying to give you the practical aspect of why this provision is required in the law, so that when we discuss the provisions, it will be easy for you to understand. Now, the provisions of time of supply are given in section 12 and 13 of the CGST and the SGST Act. And as we all know, we have been discussing this, all provisions of CGST, whichever are required to be applicable to IGST, they are applied by way of section 20 of the IGST Act. So section 20 of the IGST Act is the connecting section, which has given a list that for all these sections, we are not providing anything in the IGST Act. For all this, you refer the CGST Act. So this is how the time of supply provisions given in the CGST Act also becomes applicable to IGST Act. That is, this time of supply applies to both intrastate and interstate transactions both. Now, this particular time of supply is given in section 12 and 13. There is one more section, 14, but it is slightly different. We are going to discuss that also. It is not exactly dealing with time of supply, but yes, it also helps you decide in which month and what tax liability you have to pay. But 14, I'll keep it aside because it is not exactly time of supply. What it is, we'll discuss when we complete time of supply. Now, there are some definitions: associated enterprise, document, invoice, goods, service. See, goods, service, we all know. There is no specific definition given of document and invoice. It is very generic. So document is defined as it includes written or printed record of any sort, or it is electronic record as defined in this section of Information Technology Act. Similarly, invoice or tax invoice means the invoice as per section 31. So anyways, there is no specific definition. Good service we have already discussed in the starting chapters. Prescribe means prescribed by way of rules. Reverse charge we have already studied in the chapter of levy, that reverse charge means where the liability is shifted to the recipient. Supplier again we have studied. In fact, we discussed it in detail. I think Hemant had asked question for supplier because there was the amendment relating to online supply. So that point, and I think even Poonam or Manali, someone had also asked something relating to supplier. So we had also discussed recipient. So all these are related to the previous chapter. So I'm not repeating them. We have already covered them. Yes, voucher is a new definition which is relevant over here. But again, for the time being, I'll keep voucher a bit aside because again, it is dealing with a very special concept. I'll explain when we come to that point. Now, in this chapter, we have to determine what? We have to determine the month, which I am saying tax period, in which liability to pay will arise. So this is what is time of supply in my language. So in my language, what is time of supply? Time of supply is the month, that is the tax period in which your liability to pay will arise. That is, in that month, you have to go and pay the tax. Now, this time of supply is divided into two sections, as we saw. Anybody knows what is the difference between 12 and 13? See, I'll show you. As the heading says, 12 is for time of supply of goods. And now you can understand what would 13 be for. 13 will be for time of supply of service. Okay, so that is given below. So 12 is time of supply of goods. 13 is time of supply of service. One second. Yeah. So Section 12 deals with the provisions for time of supply of goods. 13 is time of supply of service. Okay. Now, what are we going to study in this? In this, broadly, we are going to study time of supply for different types of transactions. What are they? I call them as regular transactions. We'll study time of supply. Then, second is we will study time of supply for continuous supply transactions. Continuous supply of goods, continuous supply of service. Then we'll study time of supply for special transactions. Right? For goods, what are the special transactions? The special transaction for goods is goods sent on approval. And for service, it is cessation of service. Okay? So we have regular transactions of goods and service. We have continuous supply of goods and service. And then we have special transactions of goods and service. Okay. Now, besides this, now all these are forward charge transactions. That is where tax is to be paid by the supplier. Then similarly, we have the next time of supply provision, which is for reverse charge transactions. That is where tax has to be paid by the recipient. So we have the time of supply provisions for reverse charge transaction of goods and services. Then we have time of supply for voucher. Then we have time of supply for interest, for delayed payment. And we have time of supply for residuary. Again, good service, good service, good service. So your entire section 12 and 13 is divided into subsections because it has to cater to so many different set of transactions. So first three are for forward charge. This one is for reverse charge. And these are all some very specific case scenarios like supply through vouchers where there is late payment of interest and residuary. All this will be studying now. I hope the broad overview of this chapter is clear to everyone. Once you have asked, sir, I have old study material, April 23 edition. I have taken a printout of circulars which are issued and the budget memorandum explains the amendments in GST customs. Do I need to buy? See, Beta Mansa, if it is indirect tax, I generally suggest it is better you buy. You know why? Because for indirect taxes, the circulars, notifications are multiple and they have impact in different chapters at the same time. You may have taken out printouts or downloaded, but you need also to mark them at the relevant places. Instead, I personally will suggest, at least for indirect taxes, it is always better to buy the new module, or we have everything uploaded on our portal. You can download the new module, right, and refer it or take a printout of that. So that is always a recommended thing instead of taking the old module and making the changes or marking the changes, because in GST, that is in indirect taxes, there is hell lot of amendments and changes. So it is always better that you go by the updated module. Our modules are the most comprehensive and the most perfect source. So you can very well comfortably, instead of taking the hassles of doing it by yourself.
Sir,
Yes, Beta, go ahead. Please tell me.
um, sir, in the module related to 2025, the voucher definition is not given.
Module of 25. Which chapter, Beta?
यही टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई में सर.
बेटा मुझे तो मॉड्यूल 25 वाला जब मैं आज ही देख रहा था, क्योंकि आई हैव अ हैबिट ऑफ डाउनलोडिंग द लेटेस्ट चैप्टर्स इमीडिएटली बिफोर द लेक्चर. In fact,
यस सर.
today when I was searching the portal, I did not find this chapter in the 25 module. You found it?
नो सर, एक्चुअली मैंने ये मॉड्यूल से रिलेटेड शिफाली मैम से बात की थी यानी कुछ टाइम पहले. तो उन्होंने मुझे बताया था कि जो अपना वो है ना ICAI की ICAI.org वाली साइट,
हम्म.
उसके ऊपर अपने को ये सारी स्टडी मटेरियल यानी मिल जाएगी. वहां पे सबसे पहले अपलोड होता है, तो मैंने वहां से लिया ऐसा.
बेटा I'm amazed to know this, क्योंकि normally चीजें, as far as I know, at least I refer the BOS portal only. So even if it is
यस
there, it may be there. I don't know. I download everything from the BOS portal.
एक्चुअली मैं भी पहले BOS पोर्टल से ही करती थी, तो मुझे वहां पे मिला नहीं था, तो मैंने उनसे
So
बात.
they may upload it later, na? Till then you can always refer the May one. See the 2021 24 one, because when there is no major amendment, there is no need to even revise. But still, the latest
यस
one may be uploaded here. But
यस.
anyways, voucher definition, I don't know why it is not there, but it is required क्योंकि time of supply में आपके पास voucher से related time of supply है ना?
ये इसीलिए मैंने आपसे पूछा.
बेटा 100% होगा. I don't know which module you are referring, क्योंकि voucher का definition होना चाहिए.
तो यहाँ पे रेसिपेंट के बाद में सीधा यानी टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स पॉइंट नंबर 3 सेक्शन 12 दिया हुआ है 5.7 पेज नंबर पे.
बेटा फिर होगा. आई डोंट नो व्हाट यू आर रेफरिंग टू, बट इट विल बी देयर. तो क्या होगा, मे बी शायद नए मॉड्यूल में उन्होंने आगे कवर कर लिया रहेगा, क्योंकि किसी डेफिनेशन स्टार्टिंग में देखे उतना फायदा नहीं. जैसे मैंने भी अभी डेफिनेशन आपको क्यों नहीं पढ़ा है, क्योंकि जब वो वाउचर वाला आएगा तब मैं जब वाउचर का डेफिनेशन पढ़ूंगा तो ज्यादा समझ में आएगा.
अच्छा, तो शायद वो बाद में आएगा.
हाँ वो बाद में होगा. सो दैट इज नॉट अ बिग थिंग. वो सिर्फ अरेंजमेंट चेंज हुआ रहेगा. ठीक है ना?
ओके 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 सर.
डोंट वरी फॉर दैट बेटा.
ओके सर.
ठीक है,
यस सर.
आगे बढ़े.
यस सर.
थोड़ा सा मे बी इन बिटवीन आई मे हैव टू स्विच ऑफ माय वीडियो, क्योंकि आज मेरे घर में बहुत I have many people roaming around. So बीच में I may be just switching off the video for a few seconds. Okay. So with this broad overview, let us move ahead. So we first start with time of supply, ये वाले. ठीक है. सो अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, सबको मैं अपनी तरीके से अरेंज करके आपको दे रहा हूँ. Maybe later on you can take a screenshot of all this so that you can even again draw it at your end so that it will be easy for you for future reference. So first we are going to discuss time of supply of goods and we are discussing forward charge. So the three cases I am going to cover in this. So here, let us make it in a tabular form. So it is particulars. First are the regular transactions. What are regular? Which are not falling in the other two. Then second is the continuous supply of goods. And the other is the special transaction, which is goods on approval basis. So where goods are sold on approval basis. Now, as I was saying, there are three legs to every transaction. One leg is the actual supply, the other leg is the documentation, and the third leg is the payment. So I'll write down all the three legs. Now, what is the rule? What will be time of supply of goods? Time of supply of goods is earliest of. First is date of invoice, or chalo, I'll use the word documentation. So it is date of invoice. Then second is, as I said, the supply itself. So supply. Now, how do you come to know what is the date of supply? See, we want the dates so that we can find out of these dates, which date is my time of supply. The answer is already given. The answer is earliest of these dates. But what are these dates we have to take earliest? First is the documentation date. What is the date? The date of your invoice. Second is the supply date. Now, how do we identify supply? So they are saying take the date of delivery. That is the date when you have delivered the goods. Delivery, dispatch, removal, whatever words you can use. So the day when the goods are given by the supplier to the recipient or dispatched or removed. And the third is date of receipt of payment. This is not applicable for transaction of supply of goods which are under forward charge. So this third date, as I said, there are three legs in every transaction. One is the documentation, one is the payment, one is the actual transaction. So this is documentation, this is the transaction, this is the payment. Out of this, for goods, we will not refer to the date of payment. In other words, for all the regular transactions of supply of goods, the time of supply will be earliest of the date on which you have prepared the invoice or the date on which the transaction of supply has happened. And how that transaction of supply of goods can be identified, they are saying date of delivery, dispatch, removal, etc., etc. There will definitely be some date of payment, but for transaction, forward charge transaction of supply of goods, you will not refer to the date of payment. I hope this is clear. Anybody has any doubts? Students, please respond.
Sir, the date of invoice should be always earlier to the date of delivery. My understanding is.
See, what you are saying is right, but that is what you are saying as per section 31. Now, 31 is what? That is in another chapter that deals with invoice. We are going to see that also here. Now, in that chapter, which is another chapter dealing with all types of records, in that chapter for invoice, the rules are given that for goods and for service. For service, they have given you 30 days to prepare invoice. But for goods, it is on or before delivery. That is why, see, that is why this earlier of these two has a relevance, because there is a possibility that the date of invoice may be prior to the date of delivery, or it may happen that the invoice is prepared on the same date of delivery. So it can be that invoice is a prior date invoice. If the invoice is a prior date invoice, then your time of supply will be the date of invoice. However, if the invoice date is same like date of delivery, then anything is time of supply, because both dates are same. Now, theoretically, in the sum, they may also give you that invoice is prepared of a later date. See, nobody is stopping you from preparing the invoice of a later date. But what will happen if you prepare the invoice of a later date? You are contravening provisions of section 31. So that will entail penalty, right? So that is the topic of invoicing chapter, that what invoicing chapter tells you to do. Invoicing chapter has said that you should prepare invoice for goods on or before the delivery. All these words, delivery, dispatch, removal, I'm only using the word delivery. Now, it may happen that in reality, somebody has prepared the invoice late. He was not aware, so he prepared the invoice 4 or 5 days after delivery. So practically in the sum also, they may give you the date of invoice, like let us say 5th of Jan. But the date of delivery is 29th of December. Fine, this is wrong. But it is wrong from the perspective of the invoicing chapter. And there would be penalty, there would be some type of punishment as per the law for that. But for the time being, in this chapter of time of supply, for us, this is a situation which may come in reality. And anyways, we are least bothered, because for us, the answer is earliest. So for me, the answer would be the time of supply would be 29th of December.
Okay,
I hope
understood,
this is
sir.
understood, beta.
Yes, sir.
So what you are saying is correct, but I have tried to explain you how you have to look at the transactions in reality, right?
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Please,
Sir,
beta, go ahead.
There is a different date, date of dispatch is different and date of delivery is different. If both are given, what we've taken, date of
Simple answer,
delivery.
beta, earliest. So let us say for
Earliest.
all this, they have given different dates. So anyways, the law
Yes.
is earliest. Na? So for us, it is simple. Out of all the dates given, you will take the earliest. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Anybody, any other questions?
सर
बोलो बेटा.
जैसा कि अभी आपने कहा कि अगर यहाँ पे डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी पहले की भी होगी तो भी हमको अर्लीस्ट वाला ही लेना है ना? जैसे अभी आपने 29th दिसंबर की जो डेट बताई थी.
करेक्ट.
हाँ, तो इसके अंदर तो फिर जब अगर एग्जाम में इस तरीके का कोई आता है पॉइंट, तो फिर हम लोगों को यानी उसमें अलग से सेक्शन 31 31 का यानी ऐसा बताया जाएगा कि ये 31 से रिलेटेड है, या फिर हमको खुद ही अंदाजा लगाना होगा?
बेटा आपको 31, आपको तो सारे लॉ के प्रोविजंस मालूम होने चाहिए ना.
यस
सो
सर, यस
वो
सर.
आपको नहीं बताएंगे कि आपको 31 को देखना है नहीं. यू हैव टू ऑलवेज चेक एट योर एंड.
क्योंकि
करेक्ट.
अगर हमने इसके अकॉर्डिंग आंसर दिया तो फिर वो रॉन्ग हो जाएगा ना?
करेक्ट.
नहीं यानी ये
हमें
अभी तो
क्वेश्चन में मतलब कैसे मेंशन करना है इस चीज को कि ये सेक्शन 31 अप्लाई नहीं हो रहा, या
यस
और
सर.
इसके
नहीं
अकॉर्डिंग,
नहीं
या
प्लीज
फिर
बेटा
हम डेट
अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग. सी 31 अप्लाई नहीं हो रहा, ऐसा कभी होगा ही नहीं ना. 31 इज पार्ट ऑफ द लॉ, तो वो हमेशा अप्लाई होने वाला है. करेक्ट.
हाँ.
पॉइंट इज व्हाट, पॉइंट इज कि इन्होंने 31 को फॉलो नहीं किया. दैट इज अ मिस्टेक ऑफ 31. करेक्ट.
यस.
वी आर नॉट बॉदर्ड. अगर हमारा क्वेश्चन है, जैसे कि जो क्वेश्चन आएगा कि भाई व्हाट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, तो आपका टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई आएगा विच एवर इज अर्लियर, तो ये है. अब ठीक है,
हाँ.
उसने इनवॉइस भी इसी दिन बनाना चाहिए था एज पर सेक्शन 31, जो उसने नहीं बनाया, उसने लेट बनाया है, विच इज टेक्निकली रॉन्ग. करेक्ट.
हम्म.
बट दैट इज नॉट अ कंसर्न विद टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, क्योंकि वैसे भी टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई को उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला, वो तो वैसे भी अर्लीस्ट ले रहा है.
हाँ.
राइट. सो व्हाट आई एम
यस.
ट्राइंग टू टेल यू इज कि आपका टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इससे अफेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, भले उसने गलती की है सेक्शन 31 की.
But in question there is a marks for that also, that we have write that according to section 31 he do a default.
हाँ, आंसर इज नो. सो अगर आपका ये पूछना है कि क्या हमें ये भी मेंशन करना जरूरी है, तो आंसर इज नो, क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चन आएगा कि इन द फॉलोइंग केस यू हैव टू टेल व्हाट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. अब आपका आंसर होगा प्योरली बेस्ड ऑन सेक्शन 12. यस, सेक्शन 12 में 31 का रेफरेंस आता है, मगर अब हमें ये नहीं चेक करते बैठना है कि उसने 31 फॉलो किया है या नहीं, और 31 नहीं फॉलो किया तो उसके क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस होने चाहिए. दैट इज नॉट अवर कंसर्न व्हेन वी आर आंसरिंग टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. करेक्ट?
ओके सर।
अंडरस्टूड?
एक्चुअली यहीं पर, हाँ यहीं पर थोड़ा कंफ्यूज हो गए थे।
नहीं तो मेरी बात सुनो, अब
यस।
मैं इसमें आगे
यस
आपको कुछ
सर।
बता रहा हूँ.
यस सर।
क्वेश्चन स्पेसिफिक है टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई का, तो
हम्म।
आपको ये बताने की कभी जरूरत नहीं है कि 31 का उसने ब्रीच किया है तो उसको 31 के ब्रीच करने के लिए कोई पेनल्टी लगेगी, ये बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. बट
ओके।
स्टिल अगर आपको इसमें कोई भी डाउट है कि सर ये बताना चाहिए था या नहीं, या हमको कैसे पता चलेगा कब बताना चाहिए नहीं, तो आपको नीचे एक लाइन और लिख देनी है कि हाउएवर एज पर 31 द इनवॉइस शुड हैव बीन प्रिपेयर्ड ऑन और बिफोर द डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी, हेंस ही हैज प्रिपेयर्ड द इनवॉइस इन ब्रीच ऑफ सेक्शन 31. आप एक लाइन और ऐड कर दो.
यस
अगर
सर।
आपको
यस।
कंफ्यूजन है भी, भले
यस।
मैं आपको वापस बोलता हूं जो आपका स्पेसिफिक पिन पॉइंटेड क्वेश्चन है आप दोनों का, कि क्या इस केस में एम आई रिक्वायर्ड टू इन्फॉर्म देम दैट दे हैव डन ब्रीच ऑफ सेक्शन 31? आंसर इज नो, इफ द क्वेश्चन इज वेरी स्पेसिफिक कि व्हाट इज टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, जो कि जनरली वैसा ही रहता है. करेक्ट?
यस सर, क्लियर।
स्टिल अभी ये तो हम एक एग्जांपल ले रहे हैं, अभी जैसे जैसे हम आगे और चैप्टर्स पढ़ेंगे देयर आर पॉसिबिलिटीज कि वहां पे मल्टीपल थिंग्स आर मिक्स्ड अप, हॉच पॉच है. बराबर? तो ऐसे
यस।
में जहां पे भी आपको डाउट लगे, प्लीज,
हम्म।
इट इज अ हम्बल एडवाइस, आप वो एक और लाइन एक्स्ट्रा लिख दोगे तो उसमें देयर इज नो हार्म एट ऑल.
ओके सर।
आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड बोथ ऑफ योर क्वेश्चंस.
यस सर।
है ना?
यस
Yes,
सर।
sir.
ग्रेट. आगे बढ़ते हैं फिर, लेट अस प्रोसीड. चलो अब हम इसको एक्ट में भी देख लेते हैं कि ये जो मैंने आपको बताया है ये एक्ट में कैसे दिखता है. बिकॉज सी, एक्ट इज डिजाइन ड्राफ्टेड इन देयर लैंग्वेज. दिस इज हाउ वी आर इंटरप्रेटिंग द प्रोविजन. सो सी, वी आर फर्स्टली ऑन द बेयर एक्ट. आई ऑलवेज प्रेफर रीडिंग द बेयर एक्ट, क्योंकि बेयर एक्ट से ही आपको करेक्ट इंटरप्रिटेशन मिलता है. एंड यू हैव टू डेवलप दैट स्किल ऑफ रीडिंग फ्रॉम द बेयर एक्ट एंड गेटिंग द करेक्ट इंटरप्रिटेशन. फाइन. तो देखते हैं आगे. लेट अस प्रोसीड. सो व्हाट इज गिवन? सेक्शन 12 सबसेक्शन 1. The liability to pay tax on goods shall arise at the time of supply as determined in terms of provisions of this section. तो सबसे पहले 12(1) में कुछ भी नहीं दिया है. इट सिंपली सेज कि जब भी आपको टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई डिटरमाइन करना है फॉर ट्रांजेक्शन ऑफ गुड्स, आपको ये सेक्शन में आना है. सिंपल. नाउ व्हाट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई? तो जो अभी अभी हमने पढ़ा फॉर रेगुलर ट्रांजेक्शंस, वो आपको यहां से मिलेगा, मगर सीक्रेटली मिलेगा. कैसे सीक्रेटली? दैट आई विल एक्सप्लेन. सी, सब सेक्शन 2 जो अभी हम पढ़ रहे हैं, जो अभी मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया चार्ट में, दैट इज एज पर सेक्शन सबसेक्शन 2. व्हाट डज सबसेक्शन 2 सेज? टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स शैल बी अर्लियर ऑफ द फॉलोइंग. तो अर्लियर है वो तो क्लियर हो गया. अब अर्लियर में इन्होंने 2 डेट्स दिए हैं. इनफैक्ट 3 डेट्स दिए हैं, तीनों दिए हैं. जो मैंने 1 2 3 वहां पे बताया वो तीनों यहाँ पे. पहला, द डेट ऑफ इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइस बाय द सप्लायर. ये हो गया आपका पहला डेट कि आपने एक्चुअल में इनवॉइस किस दिन बनाया. फर्स्ट डेट. सेकेंड डेट, और सो यहाँ पे और है, तो इसके बाद दूसरा डेट क्या है? द डेट ऑन विच ही इज रिक्वायर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 31 टू इशू द इनवॉइस. ये है मेरा सेकेंड डेट, जिसको मैंने वहां पे लिखा था डेट ऑफ रिमूवल वगैरह वगैरह, क्योंकि मैंने नीचे आपको एक्सप्लेन किया 31 क्या बोलता है. आपका इनवॉइस लेटेस्ट कब तक बन जाना चाहिए? रिमूवल तक, उसके बाद नहीं. सो इन्होंने क्या बोला है? द लास्ट डेट ऑन विच ही इज रिक्वायर्ड अंडर 31 टू इशू द इनवॉइस. तो यहाँ पे 2 डेट्स हो गए. एक तो एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस, और दूसरा लास्ट डेट बाय विच उसने इनवॉइस बनाना चाहिए. अब ये लास्ट डेट आपको कहां से मिलता है? सेक्शन 31 से. और 31 में क्या दिया है? उसने दिया है डिलीवरी, पर वो भी हम देख लेते हैं. सो सी दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ लॉ, एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई लाइक लॉ, स्पेशली टैक्सेशन लॉ, वेरी मच. आपको एक सेक्शन से वो पूरा लॉ समझ में ही नहीं आने वाला. आपको उसके साथ पैरेलल उसके कनेक्टिंग सेक्शंस पढ़ने ही पड़ेंगे. मे बी कुछ लोगों को ये थोड़ा सा बर्डन लगता है, बट दिस इज द ब्यूटी एंड दिस इज हाउ यू आर हैविंग डिमांड इन द इंडस्ट्री. क्योंकि जब ये चीजें इस तरीके से डिजाइन रहेंगी, पीपल विल हैव टू कम टू एक्सपर्ट्स लाइक यू. करेक्ट? सो नाउ लेट अस सी व्हाट इट सेज. What is heading of 31? Now we are only going to read 31 to the extent it is relevant to this chapter. So entire 31 we are not studying, और वो हमें जरूरत भी नहीं, वो आगे वाले चैप्टर में आ जाएगा. 31 says the tax invoice to the extent to the relevant to this time of supply. Fine. A registered person supplying goods, taxable goods, shall before or at the time of. तो उसने कब इनवॉइस बनाना चाहिए उसका टाइम दिया है, बिफोर और एट द टाइम. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे तो मैंने आपको नीचे शॉर्ट में 31 वही बोला है. कब बनाना है? या तो बिफोर या एट द टाइम. किस चीज का बिफोर या टाइम? रिमूवल और डिलीवरी. सो ये जो रिमूवल वर्ड है, डिलीवरी वर्ड है, ये वर्ड्स दिए हैं. तो अलग अलग टर्मिनोलॉजीज यूज करते हैं, डिस्पैच करता है कोई, कोई रिमूवल बोलता है, कोई डिलीवरी बोलता है, जो भी है। सो जिस दिन भी आपने गुड्स रिमूव किए, जिस दिन भी आपने गुड्स का डिलीवरी दिया, यू आर सपोज टू इशू अ टैक्स इनवॉइस शोइंग द डिस्क्रिप्शन एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। तो यहां से हमें ये आंसर मिला। पहला है एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस, दूसरा है ड्यू डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस। अगर मैं इसको अब सेक्शन नंबर के साथ लिखूं, किसी को अगर और टेक्निकली ये पूरा देखना है, तो वी आर स्टडिंग सेक्शन 12। सेक्शन 12 में ये 2A में दिया है ये दोनों डेट्स, और ये डेट दी है 2B में, जो अभी तक मैंने पढ़ा नहीं। 2A में दोनों डेट्स दिए हैं, सो बोथ आर गिवन इन 2A, व्हाट एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस एंड इवन द लास्ट डेट बाय विच इनवॉइस शुड बी इशूड एज पर 31। और 31 में क्या दिया है, जो अभी अभी मैंने पढ़ा, डिलीवरी, रिमूवल। तो इसलिए मैंने यहाँ पे सीधे, क्योंकि आपको ये प्रैक्टिकली सॉल्व करने आना चाहिए, तो मैंने यहाँ पे लॉ नहीं लिखा कि विच इज द डेट एज पर 31, मैंने लिख दिया 31 में वो डेट क्या है। आई
यस।
होप दिस इज क्लियर। करेक्ट।
यस, क्लियर।
आई एम ऑल्सो गिविंग यू सेक्शन नंबर रेफरेंस, कि कल अगर आपको इसको सेक्शन नंबर से कनेक्ट करना है, सो वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सेक्शन 12, वी आर रेफरिंग टू सीजीएसटी एक्ट ओनली। सो आईजीएसटी एक्ट का मत देखो, एसजीएसटी एक्ट देखने की जरूरत नहीं, इट इज कॉपी पेस्ट ऑफ सीजीएसटी। तो वी आर रेफरिंग सीजीएसटी सेक्शन 12, उसका 2A 2A 2B। ठीक है। नाउ वी कम बैक टू द एक्ट। So what was 2A? Actual date of invoice, ये, और फिर लास्ट डेट, यानी कब तक इनवॉइस बनना चाहिए एज पर 31, विच इज द डिलीवरी, डिस्पैच, रिमूवल एक्सेट्रा। अब इसमें वापस और है, और उसने आपको तीसरा डेट दिया जो 2B में है, द डेट ऑन विच द सप्लायर रिसीव्स पेमेंट। एक्ट में दिया है, क्योंकि हर ट्रांजेक्शन के 3 लेग्स होते हैं, मैंने स्टार्टिंग में कहा देयर आर 3 लेग्स टू एवरी ट्रांजेक्शन। वन इज डेट ऑफ एक्चुअल सप्लाई, जो यहाँ पे है डिलीवरी, रिमूवल, दूसरा है डॉक्यूमेंट विच इज इनवॉइस, तीसरा है पेमेंट। एक्ट में तीनों दिए, मगर यहाँ पे यू विल सी देयर इज अ नोट गिवन इन पॉइंट 2। व्हाट इज अ नोट? Practically, in case of goods, the date of receipt of payment by supplier is no longer, this is important, is no longer a criterion for determining time of supply for payment of tax. Why? You have to refer analysis. अब इसका एनालिसिस में भी जो हम नीचे देखेंगे क्या हुआ है, there was a notification, you can see the date, notification number 66/2017 dated 15th of November, जहां पे इन्होंने क्या बोला है, दिस नोटिफिकेशन सेज कि वो जो पॉइंट बी है ना, वो पॉइंट बी फिलहाल आपने इग्नोर कर देना है। सो इसलिए ये नोटिफिकेशन का हेडिंग देखो, नो टैक्स पेबल एट द टाइम ऑफ रिसीट ऑफ एडवांस फॉर द सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स। तो आपको रिसीट ऑफ पेमेंट वाला पॉइंट इग्नोर कर देना है, इसलिए भले क्लॉज बी है, मगर क्लॉज बी आपको देखने की जरूरत नहीं है। So I hope this is clear to all कि why did I say कि it is not applicable। बेटा सीटी मीन सेंट्रल टैक्स, तो जो सीजीएसटी के नोटिफिकेशंस होते हैं उसमें हमेशा सीटी या ज्यादा से ज्यादा आगे ब्रैकेट में आर लिख के आएगा। आर मीन्स रेट नोटिफिकेशन, तो जहां पे भी रेट से रिलेटेड नोटिफिकेशंस रहेंगे वहां पे सीटी ब्रैकेट में आर लिखा रहेगा। अभी जैसे ये रेट से रिलेटेड नहीं है, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई से रिलेटेड, यानी इसमें रेट का कोई संबंध नहीं है, तो उस नोटिफिकेशन में सिर्फ सीटी लिख के आएगा। सीटी मतलब है सेंट्रल टैक्स का है। यही अगर आप इंटीग्रेटेड टैक्स का यानी आईजीएसटी का पढ़ोगे तो आईटी लिख के आएगा, स्टेट टैक्स का पढ़ोगे तो एसटी लिख के आएगा। इज दिस क्लियर? सो नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 66/2017, तो मैं ये जो क्रॉस किया है इसमें मैं ये भी ऐड कर देता हूं। सो एज पर नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 66/2017 डेटेड 15 नवंबर था ना, 15 नवंबर
यस सर।
2007, dated 15th November 2017। Now see the beauty of the subject। लॉ में से ये नहीं निकाला है, लॉ में आज भी एक क्लॉज है 2B which says earliest of dates, actual invoice, due date of invoice and date of payment। मगर इस नोटिफिकेशन की वजह से फिलहाल ये रेलेवेंट नहीं है, यानी आपको आज ये नहीं देखना है। अब इसका इफेक्ट क्या होगा, इन फ्यूचर जब भी गवर्नमेंट को लगेगा कि नहीं बॉस अब हमें ये वाला डेट भी देखना है, तो उनको सिंपली क्या करना है, ये नोटिफिकेशन कैंसिल कर देना, ये नोटिफिकेशन विड्रॉ कर लेना। द मोमेंट दे विड्रॉ दिस नोटिफिकेशन, तो आपको ये वाला डेट भी देखना पड़ेगा जो फिलहाल नहीं देखना है। आई होप दिस इज क्लियर टू ऑल।
यस सर।
Anybody having any doubts or questions? Good. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। सो इन शॉर्ट उन्होंने नोटिफिकेशन का जिस्ट दिया है, द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स इज द डेट ऑफ इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइस और द लास्ट डेट व्हेन द इनवॉइस ऑट टू हैव बीन इशूड अंडर 31, यानी तीन में से दो डेट्स को ही देखना है। दिस इज द फाइनल कंक्लूजन ऑफ द नोटिफिकेशन। करेक्ट? ठीक है। सो वी गो बैक टू द लॉ। वी गॉट अवर फर्स्ट आंसर। किसका आपको आंसर मिल गया? रेगुलर ट्रांजैक्शन का। करेक्ट? अब एक चीज ध्यान रखना, ये फिलहाल मुझे एप्लीकेबल नहीं है बी बिकॉज ऑफ द नोटिफिकेशन, और ये एप्लीकेबल नहीं है तो ये वाला प्रोवाइजो भी एप्लीकेबल नहीं है बिकॉज दिस प्रोवाइजो ऑल्सो डील्स विद पेमेंट कि 1,000 रुपए तक का पेमेंट रहेगा तो क्या करना है। बट इफ द पेमेंट इटसेल्फ इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल, क्लॉज भी एप्लीकेबल नहीं, तो नीचे वाला ये प्रोवाइजो भी एप्लीकेबल नहीं है। करेक्ट? तो ये प्रोवाइजो भी अब हमें छोड़ देना है। अब हमारे काम के हैं ये बाकी दोनों पॉइंट्स। इसमें से भी एक्सप्लेनेशन टू वापस इंपॉर्टेंट या काम का नहीं बिकॉज अगेन इट डील्स विद पेमेंट। सो इन शॉर्ट इस सेक्शन में फिलहाल आपको ऊपर वाले सेक्शन के अलावा व्हाट इज एप्लीकेबल इज ओनली एक्सप्लेनेशन 1। आई होप दिस इज क्लियर। जिसका भी बहुत ज्यादा इंपैक्ट हमें नहीं आने वाला है। सो इफेक्टिवली आपके लिए सिर्फ इतना ही काफी है, दैट इज सेक्शन 2, सॉरी सेक्शन 12 सबसेक्शन 2 क्लॉज ए। बी नहीं है बिकॉज ऑफ नोटिफिकेशन, बी नहीं है तो ये प्रोवाइजो और ये नीचे वाला एक्सप्लेनेशन भी काम का नहीं बिकॉज बोथ आर रिलेटिंग टू पेमेंट। एक्सप्लेनेशन 1 काम का है मगर इट हैज नॉट मच बेयरिंग क्योंकि उसका भी कहीं ना कहीं डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली पेमेंट से लिंक। राइट? मैं जस्ट पढ़ रहा हूं आपके लिए व्हाट इज एक्सप्लेनेशन 1 सिंग। इट सेज फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ क्लॉज ए एंड बी the supply shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice। अब इस पॉइंट का रेलेवेंस आपको तभी आता है जब आपको पार्ट पेमेंट आता है। यहाँ पे क्योंकि पेमेंट का पूरा क्लॉज एप्लीकेबल नहीं है तो पार्ट पेमेंट वाला क्लॉज भी ऑटोमेटिकली एप्लीकेबल नहीं होता है। सो इफेक्टिवली हमारे लिए सबसे अच्छी बात है सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स में टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज ओनली सेक्शन 12 सबसेक्शन 2 क्लॉज ए। क्लॉज ए में दो डेट्स दिए, दोनों में से विच एवर इज अर्लियर। I hope I am clear with this. Anybody has any questions or doubts?
No, sir.
क्लियर सर।
Excellent. ऐसे मुझसे बात करते रहो, अच्छा लगता है। I also feel that I am talking to live people. नहीं तो कभी कभी ये लगता है कि क्या पता सामने भी चैटबॉट्स या डमी रोबोट्स बैठे हैं क्या। So keep discussing. ऐसे यस सर, नो सर, समझा नहीं समझा, ऐसा कुछ तो बीच में इनपुट्स देते रहो। Now we have understood regular transaction, right? Now I have to explain you continuous supply of goods वाला time of supply और goods on approval वाला time of supply। इसका भी आंसर यही है, डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस वापस ड्यू डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस एज पर 31 और पेमेंट इसको भी अप्लाई नहीं होने वाला है। सो सेम आंसर। Now what is going to change in all three is only this second part which is the due date of invoice। अब ये ड्यू डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस यहाँ पे हमें मिला था डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी। अच्छा ये कैसे मिला था मैं वो भी लिख देता हूं। दिस इज एज पर सेक्शन 31 ब्रैकेट 1। राइट? अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। सो ये है आपका सेक्शन 31 विच वॉज डीलिंग विद इनवॉइस, उसमें सबसेक्शन 1 था विच इज फॉर रेगुलर ट्रांजेक्शन। अब when we proceed, you will find another subsection for continuous supply and you will find another subsection for where goods are sent on approval basis. तो बेसिकली ये जो बाकी के दो ट्रांजेक्शन्स मैंने बताए, रेगुलर और उसके बाद बाकी के दो में क्या है, कंटिन्यूअस और गुड सेंट ऑन अप्रूवल, इन दोनों ट्रांजेक्शन का डिफरेंशिएशन आता है बिकॉज ऑफ द इनवॉइस वाला सेक्शन विच इज 31 ब्रैकेट 1 फॉर दिस, 31 bracket 4 for this, and 31 bracket 7 for this. तो इंटरेस्टिंगली सेक्शन 12 में एक ही सेक्शन दिया है इस सब के लिए, दैट इज सेक्शन 12 सबसेक्शन 2, एंड 2 में क्लॉज ए में दोनों बातें कही है, एक है एक्चुअल डेट और दूसरा है ड्यू डेट एज पर 31। जब आप 31 में जाते हो तो यू फाइंड 3 कैटेगरीज ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन, एक नॉर्मल और बाकी दो में कुछ तो अलग, कंटिन्यूअस सप्लाई एंड गुड्स ऑन अप्रूवल बेसिस। करेक्ट? See how we have constructed this whole provision. Try to understand. So because of 31 reference, we are having 3 categories. Section 12 में 3 categories नहीं बने, Section 12 में एक ही category है। Forward charge के लिए उनके पास एक ही subsection है, that is 12 subsection 2, that is covering forward charge. बाद में हम 3 पे जाएंगे, वो reverse charge है, 4 पे जाएंगे वो vouchers है, 5 पे जाएंगे वो interest है, वो अलग अलग के लिए अलग अलग subsections है। For forward charge, there is only one subsection 12 bracket 2. मगर उसमें ये 3 कैटेगरीज क्यों है? बिकॉज ऑफ 31, क्योंकि 31 में 3 अलग अलग कैटेगरीज है, रेगुलर, कंटिन्यूअस एंड गुड्स ऑन अप्रूवल बेसिस। नाउ वी गो टू 31 टू अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट आर दी स्पेशल केसेस, ड्यू डेट्स फॉर रेजिंग इनवॉइस। आई फर्स्ट स्टार्ट विथ 31(7) विच इज इजी। अब 31(7) क्या बोलता है? नॉट विथस्टैंडिंग एनीथिंग कंटेन्ड इन सबसेक्शन 1, यानी ये रेगुलर ट्रांजेक्शन वाला रूल फॉलो मत करो क्योंकि ये स्पेशल ट्रांजेक्शन है, इससे सबसेक्शन 1 फॉलो नहीं करना है। सबसेक्शन 1 क्या था? सबसेक्शन 1 वाज डेट ऑफ रिमूवल, डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी, ये मत देखो। तो अब क्या देखना है? वी हैव टू सी वेयर द गुड्स आर बीइंग सेंट और टेकन ऑन अप्रूवल ऑफ सेल और रिटर्न बेसिस आर रिमूव्ड बिफोर द सप्लाई टेक्स प्लेस। अब ये मेन पॉइंट इंपॉर्टेंट है, द इनवॉइस शैल बी इशूड before or at the time of supply or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. So 31 ने आपको कुछ तो टाइमलाइन दिया है इनवॉइस बनाने का, where goods are sent on approval basis. अब वो टाइमलाइन क्या है? टाइमलाइन is 6 months from date of removal or delivery या confirmation by the buyer. Now understand this. तो आपके पास 3 डेट्स आ गए, 1, 2, 3। ये दोनों डेट्स कहां से आए? 31(7) में से, क्योंकि ये किसके डेट्स दिए हैं? डेट ऑफ प्रिपेयरिंग द इनवॉइस, कि आपने इनवॉइस लेटेस्ट कब तक बनाना है। लेटेस्ट कब तक बनाना है? हमारा ट्रांजेक्शन क्या है? गुड्स आर सेंट ऑन अप्रूवल बेसिस। इसके लिए 31(7) क्या बोलता है? आपने इनवॉइस लेटेस्ट कब तक बनाना है? तो पहले ट्रांजेक्शन समझो, टुडे इज 12th ऑफ दिसंबर, आपने मुझसे कोई गुड्स का ऑर्डर प्लेस किया, बट हमारा कंडीशन क्या है? आई विल डिस्पैच द गुड्स, you will receive the goods, you will check the parcel. If you find that the parcel is appropriate as per your requirement, you will accept it, or else you will reject it. I said fine. So today I am delivering the goods. आज की डेट है 12th of December. आज का डेट का कोई रेलेवेंस नहीं, कोई रेलेवेंस नहीं है, बिकॉज दिस ट्रांजेक्शन इज नॉट रेगुलर। रेगुलर होता तो आज का डेट ही रेलेवेंट हो जाता था, दैट इज डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी और डिस्पैच। पर आज का डेट रेलेवेंट नहीं है क्योंकि ट्रांजेक्शन सेल ऑन अप्रूवल बेसिस वाला है। इन सच अ केस द रेलेवेंट डेट इज, आज से 6 महीने का टाइम दिया है। सो फ्रॉम टुडे 6 months would be January, February, March, April, May, June. So it will end on 11th of June. आज 12 तारीख है, सो 12 तारीख से 6 महीना एंड कब होगा? 11 जून को। तो दिस डेट विल बी 11th of June. करेक्ट? बट क्या हमें 11th of June को ही इनवॉइस बनाना है? आंसर इज नो। अगर उसके पहले आपके पास से कंफर्मेशन आ गया तो वो डेट। सो आई हैव डिस्पैच्ड द गुड्स टुडे, आपके पास वो गुड्स पहुंचते समझिए 25th या 26th ऑफ दिसंबर तक, आप वो ओपन करते हैं, लेट अस से इट इज सम ड्रेस मटेरियल, इट इज सम वेयरिंग अपैरल, आप उसको पहन के देखते हैं, आप उसका ट्रायल करते हैं, एंड ऑन 5th of January you give me a confirmation by mail कि yes, the goods are as per your quality, as per your requirement, you accept the goods. तो कंफर्मेशन का डेट हो गया 5th of Jan. ये डेट आ रहा था मेरा 11th of June, और ये डेट तो जो भी डेट को मैं इनवॉइस बनाऊंगा, अब ये भी पॉसिबिलिटी है इनवॉइस मैंने 12 तारीख को ही बना दिया था जिस दिन मैंने डिस्पैच किया, जो कि बनना नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि फिलहाल अभी तक सेल कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ, बट लेट अस से दिस इज प्योरली डिपेंडेंट ऑन दी पर्सन हु इज मेकिंग द डॉक्यूमेंट कि वो कौन से दिन बनाता है. सेकेंड पॉसिबिलिटी ये मैंने 12 फेब को बनाया, दिस कैन बी एनी डेट, करेक्ट. वापस वो डेट राइट है या रॉन्ग एज पर 31 हमें उसमें नहीं पढ़ना है. 31 ने ये दो डेट्स में से अर्लीस्ट बोला है. सो टेक्निकली आपका इनवॉइस बन जाना चाहिए था 5th of Jan को, पर आपने बनाया नहीं बनाया, दैट इज अ ब्रीच ऑफ 31. उसको टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई को कोई लेन देन नहीं. सो लेट अस से फॉर एग्जांपल पर्पसेस द 3 डेट्स आर कंफर्मेशन 5th of Jan, हमारा 6 मंथ्स कब खत्म हो रहा है 11th of June, बिकॉज टुडे इज द डेट ऑफ डिलीवरी, तो आज से 6 मंथ्स कंप्लीट होगा 11th of June को, एंड द डेट ऑन विच इनवॉइस इज प्रिपेयर्ड इज 12th of Feb. तो माय फाइनल आंसर विल बी टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज 5th of Jan. मैं पेमेंट वाला डेट देखने ही नहीं वाला बिकॉज इट इज नाउ नॉट एप्लीकेबल बिकॉज ऑफ दिस सेम नोटिफिकेशन. I hope this entire case scenario is clear to everyone. Anybody
Yes.
has any questions in this? Let me know.
Yes.
Sir, like in Amazon app, and there is a 7-day return policy or 15-day return policy. So if a good are not returned, then after 15 day that
Automatically
that
see,
is,
if you are not returning, it means it is deemed acceptance.
then date is last
15.
date of that
15.
15 days.
That is when the 15 days will expire. That will become by default the date of confirmation.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Vera. Fine. Everybody has understood. Anybody, any further questions on this? Chalo. Now we move on to the third category, that is continuous supply. Now, let us first understand what is continuous supply of goods. Theoretically, we have seen many examples, but we need to understand it practically so that we can understand what the provisions are made. So let me give you a practical example, then I will even take you to the definition of continuous supply of goods. Now, what is continuous supply? I'll give you the most simplest and the day-to-day example, that is of grocery shop. This transaction can be either regular also. This transaction can either be continuous also. So there can be regular transaction of supply of goods in case of grocery. There can be continuous transaction of supply of goods in case of grocery. Both can be possible. How? Let us understand so that we can understand the difference. Now see, I'm sure at least daily once or latest within 2 days once you would be visiting the grocery shop near your house. It may be by either for buying vegetables or for buying some masala or some tea powder or milk or curd or eggs or bread, anything. Means as if grocery shop is our regular adda. We keep on visiting there. Many times we visit 2 or 3 times in a day when mama says that, okay, get this, get this, get this. Now, the transaction for grocery shop can be either of the two. Regular also, continuous also. How? I'll explain. See, it can also be an approval basis, but we are not getting into that because we have concluded that. Now, when it is a regular transaction and when it is a continuous, we need to understand so that we understand what is so different about continuous supply of goods transaction. Now, generally what is happening generally is this. You go to the grocery shop, you give them your list, the person gives you the goods, you make the payment, he makes the invoice, matter is closed. Even if you go thrice a day, every time he does the billing, then it is a regular transaction, means it is completed there and there itself, right? Then comes the second case. In some cases, we have made some understanding with the grocery fellow. So your mama had visited that person. वो जल्दी से हम उनको भैया भाभी बना लेते हैं. So your mama discusses with him कि भैया हम रोज आपके पास से लेते हैं, हर बार मैं किसी को भेजती हूँ, हर बार मेरे को हिसाब करना पॉसिबल नहीं है, इससे अच्छा अपन एक काम करते हैं, we enter into a 15 days type of understanding. What is this understanding? कि from 1st to 15th of every month and then from 16th to 30th of every month, जो भी मेरे घर से आएगा वो एक लिस्ट लेके आएगा, you keep on giving the goods to that person. You give the goods, you make a noting, you give the goods, you make a noting, and after the completion of 15 days I will come on the 15th or 16th or 17th and we will do the हिसाब कि भाई ये 15 डेज में आपने क्या बेचा, उसका क्या प्राइस लगाया, क्या डिस्काउंट दिया, whatever is the final bill I will clear. So for the first 15 days the bill is 2400. Similarly, again for next 15 days the same process is repeated. Again, whoever is coming from family with a list, or maybe at times on phone your mama calls up and tells him, he keeps the goods ready and somebody from your house go and picks up the goods. Again he is giving you the goods. Again mama visits him on 30th or 1st or 2nd whenever she gets time, and again they do the hisab कि भाई क्या क्या बेचा, क्या प्राइस लगाया, and whatever is the amount they finalize and you pay. Now the same transaction with the grocery shop, same transaction can be regular supply of goods or can be continuous supply of goods depending upon when you are doing the hisab. Now if the hisab is done immediately every time, it is regular supply. Just 1 second. Sorry. Now this regular and the same transaction could be continuous depending upon when you are doing the hisab. Now this is the real life and the most simplest case study of what is a continuous supply of goods. See, I have not yet taken you to the definition. Definition is theoretical. But what fits in the definition, once you have a real life example, then reading the definition will be simple and makhan. Yes. Anybody has any doubts with this? Anybody has any questions? What is the meaning of continuous supply? What is the difference between continuous supply and regular supply, or continuous supply and goods sent on approval basis? Mansha has said, sir, before supply takes place, it means before issuing an invoice, right? Beta, where this word is there, before supply takes place, you are referring to what point, beta, Mansha? Before supply takes place, which part you are referring to? Where have they given definition of continuous? So this is the definition. Okay. Now let us go to the definition of continuous supply of goods. So continuous supply of goods, how it is defined? Continuous supply of goods is supplying the goods, fine, provided or agreed to be provided continuously or on recurring basis. Now see the example which I have given, where you are regularly going to that shop and you are regularly taking the goods. So where the goods are supplied on a continuous, on a recurring basis under a contract. Now this is what is important. As I said, Mama had visited the person and had discussed, and they had finalized that okay, we will do this every 15 days gap. So this is an understanding, this is a contract. Contract may be written, it may be oral. In this example, it is oral. In all the corporate sectors, whenever there is continuous supply, it is always written. So where the goods are being supplied on recurring basis and it is under a contract, and for which the supplier issues invoice to the recipient on a regular or periodic basis. And what is this periodicity? In my example, it is every 15 days and includes supply of goods as the government may, subject to conditions, notify. So nothing is notified, so we can ignore that part. What is important is this. So goods are supplied on recurring basis. It is done under a contract, that is under some understanding between both the parties, and supplier issues the invoice on a regular or periodic basis. This is what is the definition of continuous supply. Now link it with what we just studied. You'll understand what we are talking about. Correct? Any questions about the definition of continuous supply or the meaning of continuous supply? Have you understood what does continuous supply means? Continuous supply of goods. Okay. So if this is clear, now we come to the time of the due date by which invoice should be prepared. In case of continuous supply of goods, where successive statement of accounts. Now, what is this successive statement of accounts? In my words, hisab. So periodically you do the hisab. That is what is successive statement of accounts are involved. The invoice shall be issued before or at the time each such statement is issued, or as the case may be, each such payment is received. So if I have to write it here, what is the due date by which I am supposed to prepare the invoice? It is the date of successive account. So in my example, it is after every 15 days. So mother goes to that shopkeeper on 15th or 16th or 17th. That is the date of hisab. That is this date, or the date of successive payments. Now, what is this? It may happen that he may say, ki, "Arey bhai, I am going to supply you goods for 15 days, but you will make me payment after 15 days or 16 days. So मेरे को नहीं चलेगा. So you do one thing, you also make me successive payments." So mother says, okay, fine. After every 5 days gap, whenever somebody is coming, they will make you some round figure payment. So we don't know exactly how much will be the payment because the hisab will be done at the end. So we will make some round figure payment of, let us say, 500 rupees. So this is the successive payment which is decided. So in the first 15 days, on one side, he is continuously supplying you goods. So whoever goes, every time goes, he is going to give you the goods. That is the continuous supplying the goods. And at the same time, you may agree that you may also be making some successive payments. What is the successive payment? So in this example, after every 5 days, we will give him lump sum 500. And then when the hisab is done, so for the first 15 days, what is the hisab? Hisab is of 2400. So from that, we will subtract this 1500 because that was the payment we already made on 3 dates. So balance 900, mummy will pay at the time of doing this hisab. Similarly, for the next 15 days, again, we would have made this payment on the next 5 days gap. So now the hisab will be done. We would have already paid him 1500 in that gap of 15 days. So again, now mama will pay balance 1500. So this is how continuous supply happens. And in that particular case, the time of supply is earliest of these 3 dates. So there is some question. Mansa says, sir, before supply takes place. And I asked, so you are saying 31.7. Okay, I'll come to 31.7 because it is, acha, 31.7, acha, before supply takes place, beta, when does the supply takes place? Supply takes place when he gives you confirmation. So that is why here I have written confirmation by the buyer. So this is what is the date of supply. So when supply concludes, when he gives confirmation. So that is what is that point, Mansa. Fine. Okay, students. So what is finally the time of supply? In case of continuous supply of goods, it is earliest of 3 dates, actual date of invoice, which in my case will happen when this particular thing happens. That is, Mama goes for doing the final hisab. And it would be the second date is date of successive accounts, which will again happen at that time only, or the date of successive payments, which in my example are 3 dates where 500 is given. So out of this, whichever is earlier, this is the time of supply in case of continuous supply of goods. Did you get this?
सर
बोलो.
इसके अंदर in this the date of successive payment is always earlier ना, क्योंकि
Beta, see, this is my example. It can be anything. It is ultimately contract. So in
yes
contract, you will decide when to do what. You may give the payment at the start also, lump sum payment of
yes sir
1500. So that is also possible. You may give successive payment after every 5 days. You may give payment after 15 days. So there are so many a number of possibilities. See, it is a part of a contract. Contract can be anything between you and me, right?
but sir in this example also but यानी कि आपने यहाँ पे जो लिखा हुआ है 10 यानी सक्सेसिव पेमेंट करेंगे, लेकिन ये तो फाइनल पेमेंट से पहले का है ना?
हाँ, सो फाइनल पेमेंट तो हिसाब के बाद होगा. हिसाब होगा 15 दिन के बाद. तब
यस,
पता
तो
चला
डेट ऑफ
2400 है.
इनवॉइस, तो डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस आपने बोला कि यहाँ पर जो फाइनल हिसाब जब यानी वो पेमेंट करने जाएंगे तब जो डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस होगा.
प्रैक्टिकली बेटा वही होना है ना. तब तक तो ये सब
यस सर,
कच्चा चलता है हिसाब. वो एक
यस
डायरी में लिखता है ना.
यस सर, यस सर,
क्या गुड्स दे रहा है वो भी डायरी में लिखता है, और समझो सक्सेसिव पेमेंट्स है वो भी डायरी में लिखता है वो.
यस सर,
ठीक है. अब देखो, ये मैं ग्रोसरी का एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ. यही जब बड़े लेवल पे होगा, सो देन देयर वुड बी डेफिनेटली अ डॉक्यूमेंट. फिर वो सिर्फ पेमेंट ऐसे नहीं, वो कोई कच्चा हिसाब नहीं होगा, या वो कहीं पे कागज पे नहीं लिखेंगे. जो गुड्स दे रहे, देन देयर विल बी डिलीवरी चलान फॉर गिविंग द गुड्स, व्हिच इज अ प्रूफ कि मैंने गुड्स दिए. एंड व्हेनेवर द पेमेंट विल फ्लो, देयर विल बी सम पेमेंट एडवाइस, देयर वुड बी सम रिसीट गिवन फॉर पेमेंट.
यस
सो
सर,
एट कॉर्पोरेट लेवल इन सब के डॉक्यूमेंट्स होंगे, राइट?
यस सर,
मैंने आपको पहली बात कॉन्सेप्ट, क्योंकि कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ये वर्ड पहली बार हम जिंदगी में सुन रहे हैं, इसके पहले किसी सब्जेक्ट में वर्ड नहीं था. So we need
यस
to first understand what is in practical scenario concept of continuous supply. So this is the example, correct?
Sir, when 500 is given for the first time on 5th of the month, what all items will come in the invoice?
Firstly, for that 500, you have to give a receipt voucher, because that 500 is a lump sum payment. We don't know what is the final this, correct? So in that particular case, you will be not giving an invoice, you will be giving a receipt voucher.
Okay, okay,
When we go to
understood,
this
sir.
chapter, na, see the chapter of this records and documents, where we are going to study invoice. In that chapter only, we are going to study one more document, which is the receipt voucher.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Because your question is very valid. When you have given this lump sum 500 rupees on 5th, maybe by that day, the supply may not have even started, or the supply may have been of 800, 900, but that we don't know because he has not done the hisab. He will be doing hisab of 15 days at the end. So
यस
it is like an advance. So whenever there is advance, the chapter of document says you have to give a receipt voucher.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Understood.
sir. Actually,
Understood.
my question also just like him. जैसा कि उन्होंने पूछा कि ये 500 आपने बताया 500 का वाउचर देना पड़ेगा, है ना?
Receipt voucher.
हाँ, रिसीट वाउचर. तो जो आपने जो सक्सेसिव पेमेंट बोला यहाँ पे जो लिखा हुआ है सक्सेसिव पेमेंट, तो वो ये वाउचर की डेट होगी क्या?
Yes, beta. The date is
तो
5th.
वो तो हमेशा पहले की होगी ना सर?
एग्जैक्टली तो मैंने आपको कहा ना, वो तो पहले की कोई भी डेट हो सकती है, मगर वो कितने अमाउंट की होगी? 500, 500, 500.
हाँ हाँ वही.
करेक्ट, करेक्ट.
यस सर.
ठीक है
यस
ना? So you can take
But if
screenshot.
advance is more than, in a case lump sum payment is for 1 month, so then what is the effect of that?
See, if it is part of successive payment, which is written in the law, right?
Yes, sir.
ये देखो यहाँ पे आपको क्या लिखा है, in case of continuous supply of goods where successive payments of accounts or successive payments are involved, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time of such statement is issued, or as the case may be, each payment is received. Right? Now, in this particular case, they are saying either where successive statement of accounts or successive payments are involved. It means both are not there. The question is, what if both are there? Practically, the invoice is always issued only when hisab is done, because Hemant rightly pointed out what I will write in the invoice for the goods, because where I have not done hisab, I will not write anything for the goods. So in that particular case, for successive payments, what you give is the receipt voucher, because in receipt voucher, you only have to write the amount, because we are showing it as advance payment received, right? And then when the final hisab will be done, at that time, we have made a list of goods, whatever are supplied during those 15 days. In that case, the detailed invoice will be prepared for all the goods which are supplied in the 15 days period. I hope this is clear to all. Yes, students.
Fully
So there is
understood, sir.
some
Fully understood.
confused.
हाँ मिताली, tell me.
या सर, अगर हम लोगों ने टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई है, इन केस हम अर्ली केस ले रहे हैं, इनमें से जो भी अर्ली होगा, राइट?
Correct, correct, correct.
सर, लेट्स टेक एग्जांपल कि अगर मैंने सक्सेसिव पेमेंट करी है, लेट्स टेक
ये रहा ना,
28 जनवरी।
सुनो सुनो,
और
एग्जाम्पल मत चेंज करो, सिंपल एग्जाम्पल रखते हैं। 15 डेज से हम हिसाब करने वाले हैं, और आपको हर 5 दिन के गैप से 500 रुपए देने, करेक्ट?
सर, अगर मंथ चेंज हो रहा है सक्सेसिव पेमेंट में और इनवॉइस में, तो हम लोगों का फिर जीएसटी की पेमेंट लियो कब मतलब उसका जो टैक्स जीएसटी बनेगा वो कब बनेगा? अब फर्स्ट मंथ सक्सेसिव पेमेंट के टाइम पे, या इनवॉइस
यस
इशू करेंगे तब?
बेटा, वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ। प्रैक्टिकली सक्सेसिव पेमेंट पे इनवॉइस देना इम्पॉसिबल है, क्योंकि जो हेमंत ने पॉइंट रेस किया वो राइट है। आप इनवॉइस नहीं दे सकते, क्योंकि आप उसमें गुड्स का क्या नाम लिखोगे, करेक्ट? क्योंकि
यस
आपने
सर।
पेमेंट तो लमसम दिया है 500 का। उस वक्त पॉसिबिलिटी है कि शायद कोई गुड्स सप्लाई नहीं हुआ रहे, या वो जो भी गुड्स दिया गया रहेगा वो कितने भी अमाउंट का हो सकता है, जिसका अभी तक तो हमने हिसाब ही नहीं किया है। एम आई क्लियर?
यस सर।
तो उस वक्त आप क्या देते हो? यू प्रिपेयर द अदर डॉक्यूमेंट विच इज रिसिट वाउचर,
ओके।
करेक्ट? एंड ऑन दैट बेसिस आपका ये टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ट्रिगर होता है, क्योंकि वो डेट ऑफ सक्सेसिव पेमेंट आ गया, तो वो रिसिट वाउचर के बेसिस पे आपका टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ट्रिगर होता है,
ओके सर।
करेक्ट? इनवॉइस बेटा हमेशा बनता है जब हिसाब होगा तब, उसके बिना इनवॉइस बन ही नहीं सकता है। थोड़ा प्रैक्टिकली सोचो ना, आपको जब तक पता ही नहीं क्या क्या गुड्स सप्लाई हुए, आप इनवॉइस कैसे बनाओगे? एम आई क्लियर? मानसी? चलो, so if anybody wants to take a screenshot of this, please take a screenshot of this whole thing so that you will have it for your reference. Yes, 1 second. Yes, now you can take the screenshot. Perfect. Now let us move on. Now, section 12 khatam nahi hua hai, but I want to give you a comparative study. So we switch to section 13, which is same time of supply, but now it is of services. And again, it is for forward charge, right? Again, there are 3 transactions. One is regular, continuous, and यहाँ पे special transaction is cessation of service. ठीक है? Okay. Now same like section 12, 13 का भी subsection 1 क्या बोलता है? The liability to pay tax on services shall arise at the time of supply as determined in terms of the provision. तो उसने पहला तो ये बोला है कि time of supply आपको आगे वाले provision से आएगा. Now, what does subsection 2 says? The time of supply shall be earliest of following dates. पहला, date of issue of invoice by the supplier if the invoice is issued within the prescribed period under 31, or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Second, the date of provision of service if the invoice is not issued within the period prescribed in 31, or the date of payment, whichever is earlier. And third, the date on which recipient shows the receipt of services in the books in case provision of A and B does not apply. ठीक है, अब इसको मैं मेरे यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ. Now we have regular transaction, we have continuous supply, we have cessation. For regular transaction, what you have to check? You have to check whether invoice is prepared within the time limit. Now, what is the time limit given in section 31? 31 says time limit as 30 days. And for some cases, it is 45 days. वो कौन है वो बाद में देखते हैं. फिलहाल टाइम लिमिट क्या है? 30 डेज है. फिलहाल ये मान के चलते. अब मेरा सवाल क्या है? वेदर इनवॉइस इज प्रिपेयर्ड विद इन द टाइम लिमिट. दो पॉसिबिलिटी, यस और नो. तो क्या आपने 30 डेज में इनवॉइस बनाया? यस. क्या आपने 30 डेज में इनवॉइस बनाया? नो. नो मतलब आपने 30 डेज के बाद बनाया. इफ आंसर इज यस, तो व्हाट इज टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई? टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज date of invoice or date of receipt of payment. Answer always is whichever is earlier. तो मैं यहीं पे लिख देता हूं TOS is earliest of. तो ये तो मेन रूल सब में कॉमन है, इट इज अर्लीस्ट ऑफ दीज डेट्स. पर कौन से दो डेट्स देखने? क्योंकि इनवॉइस आपने टाइम लिमिट में बनाया. सी अंडरस्टैंड द लॉजिक्स. योर इनवॉइस इज अ वैलिड डॉक्यूमेंट. सिंस इट इज वैलिड, तो वो डॉक्यूमेंट या जिस दिन पेमेंट मिला, अब यहाँ पे पेमेंट का डेट देखना है. जो गुड्स में नहीं देखना था वो अब यहाँ पे देखना है. सेकेंड, इफ यू हैव नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड द इनवॉइस विद इन टाइम लिमिट, तो योर इनवॉइस इज नाउ नॉट अ वैलिड डॉक्यूमेंट. हम उससे वैलिड नहीं मानते. तो अब यहाँ का डेट बन जाएगा डेट ऑफ प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विस, जिस दिन आपने सर्विस प्रोवाइड की, या डेट ऑफ रिसीट ऑफ पेमेंट. अब इन दोनों डेट्स में से whichever is earliest is your time of supply. This is the regular provision. All this we are studying is as per section 13 bracket 2. This is as per 13 2A. This is as per 13 2B. 13 2A, 13 2B.
Sir, date of provision of service. What would be the document for the authentication of this?
I'll tell
Is
you.
it-
Good question. So, Heman wants to know, sir, what is the date of provision of service? How do you get the guarantee of what is the date? So answer is, it depends upon what is the service. So I'll give you few examples. Let us say the service is a hotel service. So it becomes the date of your stay. Second, if it is a transport service, it is the date of your travel. If it is audit service, it is the date of signing of audit report. So for different services, there would be different dates. And as you rightly pointed out, what is the document for authentication? So as I gave you example, there could be different types of, instead of using the word document, I'll say evidences by which you will get the answer of what is my correct date of provision of service. Correct? Understood, beta?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Understood.
Have others understood this?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else has any questions on this? क्या हो गया जीनी, आप शांत हो गए बहुत?
नहीं सर, आई हैव टोल्ड तो यस सर, क्लियर.
नहीं, पर वो यस में वो कॉन्फिडेंस वाला वो नहीं आया मेरे को आवाज.
ओके.
Yes, what about others? Vignesh, Poonam, Mitali, Mansha. Everybody is clear? क्योंकि
Sir,
थोड़ा सा अलग.
sir, the data provision of service, it should be from the recipient, right? That is the date on which the recipient receives the service, and
You
document
can
has
say
to come
so.
from
Yes.
the document has to come from the recipient. Am I right, sir?
See, again, I'll repeat my point, beta. There may not be a document. Like when you are traveling, what is a document? So it is, as I said, you have to see the evidences. So for traveling, what I said, it is the date of travel. Now that you will get to know from the ticket date or from any such evidences, you will come to know what is the date of travel, correct? So there may not be necessarily every time any document as such. I'm using the word evidence because when we say document, it means something is prepared, like how you prepare an invoice. So when you are saying the document will come from recipient, it means indirectly you want to say that recipient has to prepare and give something. Recipient cannot prepare and give anything in GST, correct? All documents in GST except two. There are only two documents in GST where recipient has a role. Otherwise, for all documents, it is always the supplier. Now, the point is here for the evidence of provision of service, recipient will not give you any document that you will understand from the various evidences. As I said, now for different services, there would be different evidence. Now, for example, I gave you example of audit service. Now here, what document recipient is giving? He is giving no document. The audit report is signed by me. But the date of signing of audit report can be taken as the date of provision of service. So again, it becomes an evidence. When did I provide the service? It is the date when I completed the audit and I prepared my audit report. So here there is no document coming from recipient. Understood, beta?
Understood, sir. Understood, sir.
सर, ये सर्विसेज में भी प्रोफोर्मा इनवॉइस जैसा कुछ होता है क्या?
बेटा प्रोफॉर्मा इनवॉइस कहीं पे भी नहीं होता है. There is nothing like proforma invoice in GST, whether it is for goods or whether it is for service.
But any before selling, someone sent to the buyer.
But that is part of business practice. GST में उस document का कोई relevance नहीं है. Nowhere in the GST law that document has been referred.
प्रोविजन से प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विस से रिलेटेड मैं पूछ रही थी एक्चुअली.
हाँ बेटा, बट मैं वही बता रहा हूँ आपको. आई अंडरस्टूड व्हाट इज द लिंक दैट यू आर ट्राइंग टू एस्टैब्लिश, पर मैं भी उसी का आंसर दे रहा हूँ. जीएसटी लॉ में ऐसा कोई रेफरेंस ही नहीं है प्रोफॉर्मा इनवॉइस का.
ओके सर.
हम रियल लाइफ में करते हैं क्योंकि काफी बार जो मुझे सप्लाई करना है, आप पहले से मुझे कांटेक्ट करते हो, आप बोलते हो कि सर मुझे एक बना के देना कि कैसा रहेगा, मैं आपको बना के देता हूँ, विच इज कॉल्ड एज प्रोफॉर्मा, राइट? मगर जीएसटी लॉ में उसका कहीं पे बात नहीं हुआ है.
ओके सर.
ठीक है?
यस सर.
ओके, नाउ वी कम बैक टू 31. 31 में हम क्यों आए? क्योंकि जो टाइम लिमिट है डॉक्यूमेंट बनाने का, जो मैंने आपको 30 डेज कहा, दैट इज गिवन इन 31 ओनली, क्योंकि इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम सेक्शन 31 ओनली. तो क्या लिखा है? A registered person supplying taxable service shall, before or after the provision of service, but within a prescribed period. तो 31(2) में लिखा है कि आपको प्रिस्क्राइब पीरियड के अंदर वो जो डॉक्यूमेंट है, इनवॉइस वगैरह, वो बनाना है, शोइंग डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ गुड्स एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. अब सवाल आता है ये प्रिस्क्राइब पीरियड क्या है? वापस याद रखना, जब भी एक्ट में वर्ड आएगा प्रिस्क्राइब्ड, यहाँ पे जैसे वर्ड दिया है विद इन द प्रिस्क्राइब पीरियड, तो प्रिस्क्राइब कहां पे होता है? प्रिस्क्राइब होता है रूल्स में. सो यू गो टू द रूल्स एंड व्हेन यू कम टू द रूल्स, यहाँ पे यू फाइंड द 30 days रूल. So rule 47 क्या बोलता है? Invoice referred to in 46 in case of taxable supply of service shall be issued within the period of 30 days from the date of supply of service. और जैसा मैंने कहा, ये 30 days का रूल 45 days हो गया है. 45 days किसके लिए हुआ है? Provided that where the supplier is insurer, यानी इंश्योरेंस दे रहा है, या बैंकिंग अपना सर्विस दे रहा है, या नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन है, ये लोग जब अपना सर्विस दे रहे हैं, then instead of invoice, the document that they are going to prepare, whatever document that they are going to prepare, the time limit given is 45 days. So the time limit, there are two time limits, 30 days, 45 days. It is coming by way of rule 47. And we are reading rule 47 because of section 31 bracket 2, which uses the word prescribed period. So ये जो 30 days, 45 days आपने पढ़ा, ये हमें कहां से पता चला? ये हमें पता चला एज पर सेक्शन 31 ब्रैकेट 2 रेड विथ rule 47. So this is how you get this particular reference. Correct? And then we refer to our original section, which is 13.2, which says कि अगर टाइम लिमिट के अंदर इनवॉइस बनाया है, yes, तो टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन दोनों डेट्स में से अर्लीस्ट है, नहीं बनाया है, लेट बनाया है, तो टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन दोनों में से अर्लीस्ट है, और उसके सेक्शन नंबर्स हैं. करेक्ट? फाइन. Then we come to continuous supply of service. Continuous supply of service के लिए वापस टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज अर्लीस्ट ऑफ टू डेट्स 31/2. अब 31/2 में डेट क्या है? डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस, पहला डेट. दूसरा डेट, डेट ऑफ रिसीविंग पेमेंट, जो यहां पे भी था डेट ऑफ रिसीविंग पेमेंट, ये तो ये दूसरा डेट हो गया. और यहाँ पे तीसरा डेट है. वो तीसरा डेट क्या है कि कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के केस में इनवॉइस आपने कब तक बनाना चाहिए. अब इसके लिए कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के लिए सेक्शन 31 क्या बोलता है कि इनवॉइस आपने कब तक बनाना चाहिए. सो अगेन देयर आर section 31(5) says subject to the provisions of clause D of subsection 3 in case of continuous supply of service. तो कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस में आपने इनवॉइस कब तक बनाना चाहिए, तो उसमें 3 डेट्स दिए, ए बी सी. अब ये 3 डेट्स क्या है? आई टेल यू. सो सबसे पहला है पेमेंट इज लिंक्ड with event. It is completion of event. ये पहला डेट है. दूसरा डेट, ड्यू डेट ऑफ पेमेंट फिक्स्ड. सो आंसर है ड्यू डेट. और तीसरा है नो ड्यू डेट फिक्स्ड, तो है एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ पेमेंट. अब ये इन्होंने सेक्शन 31 ब्रैकेट 5 में दिया है कि कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के लिए इनवॉइस कब तक बनना चाहिए. सो 31(5) में दिया, और 31(5) में 3 सिनारियोज आर गिवन कि इनवॉइस कब तक बनना चाहिए. सिनारियो 1, सिनारियो 2, सिनारियो 3. अब ये 3 सिनारियोज क्या है? तो वो 3 सिनारियोज है 1, 2, 3. अब ये 3 सिनारियोज अलग अलग टाइप के कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के लिए है. सो लेट मी फर्स्ट टेक एन एग्जांपल. अब इसके लिए कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस का डेफिनेशन क्या है? इट इज सेम लाइक कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स, जहां पे क्या लिखा है? अंडर सम एग्रीमेंट सर्विसेज आर सप्लाइड कंटिन्यूअसली ऑन अ रिकरिंग बेसिस. अब इधर से इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट क्या है? कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस का डेफिनेशन से जहां पे आपका सर्विस 3 महीने तक कंटिन्यूअसली चलने वाला है. सो व्हाट इज कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस? वहां पे 3 मंथ्स का कंडीशन दिया है, जो कि गुड्स में नहीं था. बाकी एवरीथिंग इज सेम लाइक गुड्स. तो गुड्स के केस में जो कंटिन्यूस तक कंटिन्यूअसली सप्लाई होगा तो ही उसे कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस कहेंगे. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज, ये सर्विसेज के एग्जांपल क्या है? सबसे पहला और सबसे कॉमन एग्जाम्पल है जिसके लिए पहला रूल बनाया है. दिस एग्जाम्पल इज कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस. तो पहले आई मेक दिस अ बॉक्स. अब कंस्ट्रक्शन में क्या होता है? लेट अस से यू हैव बुक्ड अ फ्लैट, ऑफिस, शॉप विच इज अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन. सो बिल्डिंग इज अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन, वहां पे आपने बुक किया है. वहां पे बिल्डर क्या करता है, वो आपको एक पेमेंट का शेड्यूल देता है जो लिंक्ड रहता है इवेंट से. व्हाट इज दैट इवेंट? कि भाई जब प्लिंथ कंप्लीट होगा तो आप 10% दोगे, फर्स्ट स्लैब कंप्लीट होगा तो आप 15% दोगे, अगला स्लैब कंप्लीट होगा तो आप और 15 दोगे, उसका अगला कंप्लीट होगा आप और 15 दोगे. सो द पेमेंट इज लिंक्ड विद एन इवेंट. अब एक कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस क्यों है? क्योंकि कंस्ट्रक्शन 2-3 साल तक चलेगा, इसलिए 3 महीने से ज्यादा वो कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई होने वाला है. आपको रेगुलर सर्विस मिल रहा है. व्हाट इज द सर्विस? द सर्विस इज कि आपका वो चीज धीरे धीरे बनते जा रहा है. सो यू आर गेटिंग द कंस्ट्रक्शन स्टेप बाय स्टेप. इन दिस पर्टिकुलर केस सेक्शन 31(5) ने क्या बोला है? आपने इनवॉइस कब तक बनाना है या कब कब बनाना है? जैसे जैसे वो इवेंट आते जाएगा कि भाई प्लिंथ हो गया, आप 10% का इनवॉइस बनाओगे, फर्स्ट स्लैब हो गया 15% का बनाओगे, एक और स्लैब हो गया आप और 15% का बनाओगे. सो ऑन एवरी कंप्लीशन ऑफ इवेंट you will prepare the invoice. So this first rule applies to builders. सेकेंड रूल का बेस्ट एग्जांपल है आपके टेलीफोन सर्विसेज, आपके इंटरनेट सर्विसेज. वापस से कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई बेसिस पे चल रहे क्योंकि आप रेगुलर कॉलिंग और इंटरनेट यूज कर रहे हो. इसमें देर इज ऑलवेज अ ड्यू डेट विच इज फिक्स्ड फॉर पेमेंट. एवरी मंथ का कोई एक ड्यू डेट फिक्स करते वो लोग. सो योर इनवॉइस हैज टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड ऑन और बिफोर द ड्यू डेट. सो यहाँ पे आपका आंसर क्या है? इट इज द ड्यू डेट. एंड थर्ड पॉसिबिलिटी इज कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस है मगर कोई डेट फिक्स ही नहीं की है कि पेमेंट कब तक करना चाहिए. अगर कोई डेट फिक्स नहीं की है कि पेमेंट कब तक करना चाहिए, तो फिर आपका आंसर आएगा एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ पेमेंट, जो इफेक्टिवली इससे मैच हो जाएगा. ये भी क्या है? डेट ऑफ रिसीविंग पेमेंट मींस डेट ऑफ एक्चुअल पेमेंट. सो इनफैक्ट जो थर्ड सिनारियो है जो प्रैक्टिकली बहुत कम होता है, क्योंकि ऐसा कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं होता जिसमें ड्यू डेट ऑफ पेमेंट फिक्स नहीं होगा. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बनाते हैं तो हम हमेशा सारे टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस में पेमेंट का भी एक ड्यू डेट फिक्स करते हैं. सो पेमेंट का ड्यू डेट फिक्स रहेगा नहीं. अगर पेमेंट का ड्यू डेट फिक्स किया रहेगा, इन दैट केस आपके लिए द डेट वुड बी द एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ पेमेंट. फाइन. सो ये है फॉर कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस व्हाट इज द ड्यू डेट गिवन फॉर प्रिपेयरिंग इनवॉइस एज पर सेक्शन 31(5). तो ये देखो, where due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract. यानी ड्यू डेट दिया है, the invoice shall be issued on or before the due date. ये मेरा सेकंड पॉइंट था, मैंने जो लिखा उसमें. फिर where the due date of payment is not ascertainable, ये मेरा थर्ड पॉइंट था. भाई ड्यू डेट दिया ही नहीं है, तो फिर इनवॉइस कब तक बनना चाहिए? इट शैल बी इशूड बिफोर और एट द टाइम व्हेन द सप्लायर मेक्स द पेमेंट, रिसीव्स द पेमेंट. और ये मेरा फर्स्ट पॉइंट था, where the payment is linked to completion of an event. जहां पे पेमेंट किससे लिंक है? इवेंट से, जो कि मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया बिल्डर का. इनवॉइस शैल बी इशूड ऑन और बिफोर द डेट ऑफ कंप्लीशन ऑफ दैट इवेंट. So this is what is given in section 31(5). I hope this is clear to everyone. So 31(2) में रेगुलर सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के लिए दिया है, 31(5) में कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के लिए दिया है. Is this fine, students?
यस सर, क्लियर.
Great. चलो थोड़ा हैवी हो गया रहेगा. Let us take a 15 minutes break. After that, we come back and we go to the cessation of service part and we go to the other time of supply cases. Fine. So 15 minutes break. We start at 8 o'clock. Okay. So we are studying the time of supply of service in case of forward charge transactions. And in 13.2, it says, again, if it is regular transaction, we have to read it with 31 bracket 2, which says that the time limit for issuing invoice is 30 days from the date of provision of service. And in case of insurance, banking, NBFCs, it is 45 days. If prepared within time, time of supply is earliest of 2 days. If not prepared within time, time of supply is earliest of these 2 dates. Then we went to continuous supply of service, where 13.2 says time of supply is earliest of these 3 dates, in which what is the due date for issuing invoice, that is given in 31.5, where there are 3 dates given depending upon the type of service. And then comes the cessation of service case. Again, date of invoice, date of receiving payment. Now, what is the due date for issuing invoice as per 31? For this, let us first understand what is cessation. So cessation means where you had contracted to provide a service, but for some reason, the service is stopped in between. The service contract is terminated. It is ceased. Cease means to stop, to terminate. So where the service contract is terminated in between, it becomes cessation of service. Now, there are very famous examples, if I'm not wrong, of some celebrity. Who was Miss World? Sushmita Sen. So there is a famous case of Sushmita Sen where she had been on some shooting, but in between she cancelled the shoot. So there are multiple such examples where, let us say you hire me for doing your compliance work. It is supposed to be for the whole 12 months. However, after 4 months, I am not happy with the way the company is responding. So I say, ki, okay, Baba, even though our original contract was for 12 months, I am ceasing this. I am stopping this after 4 months. I will not be doing this service. So that is cessation of service, right? Now for this, one is the date of invoice, the other is the date of receiving payment. Now the question is, what is the last date by which the invoice should have been prepared? So it is simply in case where the supply of service ceases under a contract before the completion, the invoice shall be issued at the time when the supply ceases. So it is simply the date of cessation. So the date on which I decide to cancel this contract to stop my service, that date. Now here, what is also important is the value. The value is to the extent of service provided. So my main value may be rupees 10 lakhs, but that was for whole year. If I have given you service only for part of the year, let us say in my example, for 4 months. So I will proportionate the value and only to the extent to which I have provided services, till that extent only I will raise the invoice. So one is, what is the date for raising invoice? It is the date when the supply ceases. And what is the value? The invoice shall be issued to the extent of the supply made before such cessation. So till the date of cessation, whatever is the quantum of supply made, to that extent only the invoice would be made. So this is what is provided for continuous supply of service. So this is what is given in section 31. So 31(6) gives the time limit for cessation of service. So again, we have three scenarios for time of supply of service also. Again, we are dealing with only forward charge. So for forward charge, 13(2) applies. It says the dates for time of supply will be earliest. For these two, it is earliest of 3 dates, date of invoice, due date as per 31, and the date of receiving payment. But for this regular transaction, it will be depending upon two case scenarios. I hope everything up to this point is clear, because there is still something left in this section 13(2). Before that, I hope all the case scenarios are understood. Now, we have this date of payment, which is there in all, which was not applicable in case of goods, but it is applicable in case of service. Now the question is, what is this date of receiving payment? It is date of entry in books of account of supplier, or it is date of credit in bank of supplier. So what will be considered as the date of receiving payment? It will be one of these dates. Now again, if both dates are there, obviously both dates are there, then which date? Anyways, our rule is whichever is earlier. So first is the date on which the supplier has shown the entry in his books. So you prepare books of accounts, we pass the entry for receiving the payment. So it is the date on which the entry is passed. Second, where let us say nowadays people directly transfer to your account through RTGS, NEFT or online transfer, it is the date on which the amount is credited in your bank account. So this is considered as the date of receiving payment. Now see, this is given by way of, so this is 13(2), and in this is given by way of explanation. So we had similar explanation even in case of supply of goods, but we ignored that because date of payment was not relevant. Here it is relevant. So what is the explanation saying? The date of receipt of payment shall be the date on which the payment is entered in the books of accounts of the supplier, or the date on which the payment is credited to his bank account, whichever is earlier. That is the date of receiving payment, right? So this definition is as per explanation number 2 to section 13(2). Now, what is the impact of this? See, in goods, we did not have this date of payment as one of the dates, so we were not bothered about that. But in service, while deciding time of supply, we have one of the dates as date of receiving payment. Now, the impact of this is, if you have received advance, you have not yet supplied the service, there is no question of raising the invoice, but you have received advance. Like in my case of audit, today we have entered into the audit engagement, and today I ask you to give 50% advance. Now for this 50% advance, what will happen? The time of supply will trigger, and I will have to pay tax on this 50% of advance immediately. That is the impact of this time of supply rule, where out of the earliest dates, one of the dates is date of receiving payment. And if this day payment is received in advance, I'll have to pay tax on the advance. So that is the impact, that I will have to pay tax on the advance. Now here there are two important clarifications. One, if my advance is up to rupees 1,000, So it is not a big amount. The advance is up to ₹1,000. TOS invoice. So actual rule is whichever is earlier. Now, in case of whichever is earlier, if you have received advance, automatically the whichever is earlier date would be date of advance, as I just explained. So you should pay tax on the advance. However, if the advance is of a small amount means in this example, it is they are saying the advance is up to ₹1,000, then you may not bother to pay tax on the receipt of this advance. That is, you will ignore this rule that advance payment is received, so you need to pay tax. You can ignore this and you can take the time of supply as the date of invoice only. That is, you need not make payment on advance receipt. So this is this proviso. Again, same proviso was there even in case of supply of goods, but we had ignored that because again, I explained that since payment is not applicable over there, so this proviso is not applicable. But here now, since payment is applicable, the proviso is relevant. What it says, provided that where the supplier of taxable service receives an amount up to 1,000. Now see the beauty. They are not saying advance. That is the beauty of law. They are saying he has received an amount up to 1,000 in excess of the amount indicated in the tax invoice. So this is how they are indirectly saying it is advance. Then what is important, the time of supply to the extent of such excess amount. Excess amount is the advance which is not exceeding ₹1,000 at the option of the supplier be the date of issue of invoice. So in this case, you need not pay tax on the advance because it is a very nominal amount. It is not exceeding 1,000. In such cases, they have given you the option that you may take the time of supply as the date of invoice only. I hope this proviso is clear. So this rule, which I just explained, is given by way of proviso to section 13. Bracket 2. Correct? Okay. Now we come to one more point. This explanation 1. The supply shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice or as the case may be the payment. Now this point we read even in case of supply of goods. It may not have made much sense. Here also, it is just a clarificatory point which says that whenever supply is made partly, it is a possibility that you may not have made the complete supply, the supply is part. In this case, how will you understand how much is the supply, the part supply? The answer is the supply shall be deemed to be have made to the extent it is covered in invoice. So whenever there is part supply, so how much is that part supply will be as per the invoice, or if for that part payment is received, it will be as per the part payment. So whatever happens, if the supply happens in part, whatever amount you have given in the invoice for that part payment, that will be considered as the supply amount. So this point is relevant when supply is a continuous supply. It is going to be made over a long period of time and you want to make invoice for one small period. So when you want to make invoice for one small part of supply, the question is how much is that supply, for which they have said that it will be deemed. So actually we don't know how much is the supply. So it will be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice or as the case may be by the payment. So these are the explanations given. Now what is interesting to me is clause C. So we are still in 13.2 and the interesting point is clause C. Yes, Mansa, obviously, whatever is your advance, that will be adjusted in successive payments. You are right. Now, what is clause C dealing with? Now, 13.2 is time of supply of service forward charge, in which A was invoice is made within time limit, B was invoice is not made within time limit. Now, what is C? The date on which the recipient shows the receipt of services in his books in case where the provision of clause A or B do not apply. Now, this is what? This is a type of, you can say, a measure by which we are trying to override this. So what it says, where section 13(2) cannot be applied because relevant data is not available. Now, what is the relevant data? You should know the date of provision of service. You should know the date of receipt of payment. If by chance this data is not available for some reason, then what it says, time of supply shall be date on which the service is recorded in the books of recipient. So see, it is a type of a provision made where the above provisions do not apply. See, I'm reading the language again. It says the date on which the recipient shows the receipt of service in his books in case where the provisions of A or B do not apply. Now, what will be the case where the provisions of A and B, that is the all this, whatever we have discussed, do not apply? It is basically meaning that you are not able to apply the above provisions. Why? Because you do not have the relevant data. Now, when this will happen, let us say there is some fire at supplier's premises. So his data is burnt. Now, if his data is burnt, you will not get all these information which is there with the supplier. So if there is some problem at the supplier's end, like as I gave example of fire, there can be floods, or for any reason, the supplier's records have been damaged, destroyed. Now, if supplier's records are damaged, destroyed, and if the data which is required above is not available with the supplier, then the law has made a provision that what you can do is you can check what is the date of entry in the recipient's book, so that at least you will get the idea. Okay, supplier cannot give you the data when he has provided the service, but recipient can give you the data because he has also shown the receipt of the service. So if I'm doing audit for you, let us say in my office there is my entire system goes corrupt, all my data is erased, or all my data is hacked. Nowadays this is a problem, the data hacking problem, and let us say I'm not having the data. The simplest thing which will happen is I will come to you, I'll ask you, okay Baba, you tell me the details of when what services I have given to you, for what you have made the payment, for what you have made advance payment. You obviously have the entries for all these transactions, because like how I'm entering the transactions in my book as supplier, you are entering the same transactions in your book as recipient. So where transactions are not available at my end, it can be taken from your end. So this is what is provided in section 13 bracket 2 clause C. So clause A and B is what we have studied above, which is the earliest of the dates, and clause C is a type of a saving clause. Saving where you do not find the relevant data with the supplier. So you can come to the recipient and try to get the data from the recipient. I hope this is clear to all. Anybody, any questions, students? You can take a screenshot of this. This is the whole concept of time of supply of service under forward charge given under section 13 bracket 2, read with relevant provisions of section 31, relevant rules like rule 47. Fine. Okay. So see what all we have completed. We have completed this. We have completed the forward charge time of supply for all these cases, for goods also, for services also, right? Goods, it is given in 12.2, service is given in 13.2. Now we go to transactions which are under reverse charge, where the recipient is required to pay tax. So now we go to time of supply in case of RCM transactions. Now here there are no three case scenarios. It is same simple case scenario. Particulars, supply of goods, supply of services. Time of supply is earliest of. For supply of goods, it is receipt of goods. For service, there is no such condition. Then it is 31 day from the date of document of supplier, and here it is 61st day from the date of document of supplier. So first date is this, second date is this, third date is date of making payment to supplier. Now, what is the date of making payment? How do you know which date you have made payment? It is same like what we just read here. What is the date of receiving payment? Similarly, what is the date of making payment? It is date of entry in books of accounts of recipient, or it is date of debit in bank account of recipient. So see, this is the time of supply for RCM transactions. Section 12 bracket 3, section 13 bracket 3. It is earliest of 3 dates. Receipt of goods, here there is no condition of receipt of service. 31st day, and this day is counted from the date on which the supplier has given you document. Now, why they have used the word document? Because since the transaction is of reverse charge, there is a possibility supplier may be unregistered. If he is unregistered, he cannot give you an invoice. So that is why they have purposefully not used the word invoice. If the supplier is registered, he may give invoice. In that case, the document will mean invoice. For goods, it is 31st day. Service, it is 61st day. And then the next is the date when the recipient has made the payment. Now, how do you know this date? Again, it is the date of entry in the books of accounts or the date of debit in the bank. Out of these dates, whichever is the earliest date is the time of supply for RCM transactions. I hope this is clear. Anybody has any questions on this? Let us read it from the law also. 13.3. In case of supplies, in respect of which tax is liable to be paid on reverse charge, the time of supply shall be earliest of following dates. First, the date of payment as entered in the books of accounts of recipient, or the date on which payment is debited in his bank account. So what I have given third, they have given first. That is the date of payment. Second, the date immediately following 60 days. So it is saying date following 60 days. That is why I have given 61st day. From the date of issue of invoice or any other document by whatever name called in lieu of thereof by the supplier. So this is reverse charge for service. There are only two dates given. One is 61st day and the other is the date of payment. But when you go to reverse charge of goods, you will find three dates, where one is the date of receipt of goods. Yes. So in case of supplies in respect of which tax is paid or liable to be paid on reverse charge basis, time of supply shall be earliest of following dates. First, date of receipt of goods, date of payment, which means two dates, date of entry in books of accounts or date of debit in bank account, whichever is earlier, or the date immediately following 30 days. So it is the date following 30 days. So it becomes the 31st day. Correct? Is this understood by all?
Yes,
Sir.
Tell me, beta. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Now, this I believe is a typo error in the law. What it says, provided there where it is not possible to determine the time of supply under clause A, B or C. अब ये सेम ऊपर जो हमने फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में पढ़ा था अभी सर्विस में सी क्लॉज, वैसा ही इधर क्लॉज दिया है कि अगर ऊपर का डेटा अवेलेबल नहीं है, आप टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऊपर के हिसाब से डिटरमाइन नहीं कर सकते, तो इन्होंने क्या बोला है, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई शैल बी द डेट ऑफ एंट्री इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स ऑफ द, आई बिलीव यहाँ पे होना चाहिए था सप्लायर, क्योंकि अभी आप क्या पढ़ रहे हो, यू आर स्टडिंग रिवर्स चार्ज. रिवर्स चार्ज में बाकी ये सारा डेटा तो रेसिपिएंट का ही है. अब अगर ये पॉसिबल नहीं है टू डिटरमाइन द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई एज पर अवर अबाउ डेटा, और एक कब पॉसिबल नहीं होगा, जब सेम चीज जैसा मैंने कहा कि मेरा डेटा करप्ट हो गया, नाउ आई एम द सप्लायर ऑफ सम सर्विस जिसका टैक्स मुझे आरसीएम में पे करना है, या आई एम रेसिपिएंट ऑफ सम गुड्स जिसका टैक्स मुझे आरसीएम में पे करना है, और उसके लिए मुझे ये 3 डेट्स चाहिए, मगर वो नहीं पॉसिबल है कि ये डेट्स क्या है फाइंड आउट करना. व्हाई? बिकॉज माय डेटा इज करप्ट, माय डेटा हैज बीन लॉस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ फायर एनीथिंग. तो इन सच अ केस टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई कैसे आएगा? नाउ यू विल चेक द एंट्री इन द बुक्स ऑफ माय सप्लायर. अब गलती यहाँ पे क्या हुई है, इन्होंने ऊपर वाला ही पॉइंट कॉपी करने की कोशिश की, तो यहाँ पे इंस्टेड ऑफ राइटिंग सप्लायर दे हैव बाय मिस्टेक रिटन रेसिपिएंट ऑफ सप्लाई. आई बिलीव द करेक्ट पॉइंट शुड हैव बीन सप्लायर ऑफ सप्लाई, not recipient of supply. I hope this is clear.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is time
Yes,
of supply in case of RCM, correct? Then we come to the next case, time of supply where supply of goods or services is through vouchers. Section 12(4) for goods, 13(4) for services. अब यहाँ पे we have to first understand what type of transactions they are talking about, and then we'll also go to the definition of voucher. See, let us first understand vouchers. Up tak before reading GST, if any student of CA course is asked what is a voucher, you will link this with audit subject, because you have studied the word voucher and vouching for the first time in audit, where voucher means the document which is prepared, which is an evidence of any transaction that has happened. So if it is a sale transaction, it is the sale invoice. If it is some expenses transaction, it is the expense invoice or the internal expense voucher. So voucher is a document which may be either an internal document that is prepared by yourself, or it is an external document prepared by the other party and given to you, and which becomes the basis, which becomes the evidence of any transaction, and which is used at the time of auditing, where we call it as vouching. Yes, beta Mansha, please wait. You are going far ahead. Let me first go step by step. So this is the first meaning of voucher. Now, till you do not read GST and you do not read this particular section, voucher is this. Even in GST, voucher is this only, where the word uses receipt voucher, payment voucher. It means the same voucher what we are talking about in audit. However, when you come to this section 12(4) or 13(4), and when you read the definition of voucher, now here the voucher is something else. What is this voucher? I'll give you again a very simple real life example. We call it as gift voucher or gift coupon. What is this gift voucher or gift coupon? Let us say I wish to give you some gift. Now, this gift I'm giving because it is your birthday is coming. Let us say your birthday is on 4th of January. Now, I want to give you a gift, let us say worth of rupees 2,500. But I'm not very confident about what is your taste. Taste means what you like. So let us say if I want to give you shoes, I don't know what type of shoes you like, whether you like canvas, whether you like casual, whether you like leather, whether you like sport shoes, what. Similarly, I don't know what would be your taste about the style, about the color, about the fitting, etc. Or let us say I want to give anything, but I do not know exactly what you want. So instead of giving you those goods, I will go to a mall. I will give them 2,500. So let us say I go to the West Side Mall. I go there. I say, okay, I want to gift my friend something, but I don't know what would be the taste and liking of that person. I don't know their choices and preferences. So do one thing. I pay 2,000 rupees today. So today is 12th of December. I give 2,500 rupees and the mall person gives me a voucher. This voucher, I give it to you on your birthday, which is on 4th of Jan. So today I pay 2,500 to the mall. The mall gives me the voucher of 2,500, which is called as a gift voucher or any voucher. And this I give it to you as a gift on your birthday, that is on 4th of Jan. Now you are very much occupied in the month of Jan. So in the month of February, you go to that mall and you buy whatever you want to buy. And while making payment, you give them that 2,500 voucher. So they will not take that much payment from you. This is the meaning of voucher in this section. So here voucher is that document which is actually a payment instruction or a payment proof where I have already given that much payment to the mall, and that is where I got that voucher which I have given to you. Now another example of voucher is where any new company is launching its products, which may be goods or services, like you get this beauty salon services, which may be hairstyling service, makeup service, eyebrow service, whatever. Now for promotion, what they do is in different events, they send their office persons who give these vouchers of their salon free. So maybe you are going for Navratra, over there you get some vouchers, or in any such event, or they come to your classes where they distribute the vouchers because they want to promote their salon. Now the voucher is saying 500 rupees voucher. So when you go to the salon, whatever services you are taking in the salon, while making payment, you will give the 500 rupee voucher. So to that extent, you need not make payment. You have to make payment only of the balance amount. So voucher is over here. This is the voucher that we are talking about. So voucher is a simple piece of paper on which the supplier has put his details like name of his company, name of the brand, whatever, and it has put the amount for which the voucher is. And this acts as a payment medium. So like how I'll give you money, I'll give you debit card, credit card, or I'll write a check. In the similar fashion, there is one more mechanism of making payment, that is this voucher. So let us now read the definition of voucher.
So page number 5.7.
I thought I'll go by the search option to make it faster. Yes. Now see how voucher is defined in the GST law. It means an instrument where there is obligation to accept it as a consideration or part consideration for supply of goods, service, or both. So it is that document, here they have used the word instrument, which is going to act as a consideration. So when you are buying something from the mall or you are going to the salon for getting some beauty treatment, if you give this voucher, to that extent, you will not be required to make payment. So voucher acts as that consideration. So it is that document, here they have used the word instrument. I'm simplifying it. I'm saying document, which is representing some amount. To that extent, you need not pay. And where the goods or services are both to be supplied, or the identity of the supplier are either indicated on the instrument itself or in some related document. So on that particular voucher, that paper of voucher, already the name of the supplier is printed. Many times where the voucher is a specific voucher, they will even write the name of goods or service that you can avail. So vouchers are of two types. One is general voucher. Like I give you a West Side voucher, you can go and buy anything in West Side. Then it is a general voucher. Or if I give you a voucher of West Side, but only from the shoe section. So you can only go and buy shoes from there. Or from the apparel section, you can only buy jeans or t-shirt from there. Then it becomes a specific voucher where even the name of goods is specified. So where goods or services are identified or mentioned, or even the identity of the supplier is mentioned, either both is mentioned or one of them is mentioned on the instrument itself, that is on the voucher itself or in related documentation. So many times the voucher is not mentioning everything, but there is some leaflet along with it, there is some letter along with it. So it can be written on the voucher or it can be written on some other document, including terms and conditions. Again, the voucher will be writing some terms and conditions that for getting this 500 voucher benefit, you should make a minimum purchase of 2000, or it may give some date, or it may give some place. So there can be terms and conditions. So voucher is that piece of paper. I'm sure by now all of you all would have in real life seen one or two or more vouchers of different items. Just remember one thing, vouchers can be two, general vouchers or specific vouchers. Now, what is the time of supply? So what has happened? Today, I have given the voucher, I have purchased the voucher from the shop by paying 2,500 to the mall. Then on 4 Jan, I'm giving you the voucher. And in February, you are going and actually encashing the voucher by buying the goods or services. Correct? Now, in this particular case, what will be the time of supply? For this, we have to see whether the voucher is a general voucher or a specific voucher. What is specific voucher? Where on the voucher itself, they have mentioned that you can buy only shoes. So the voucher is specific. The time of supply is date of issue of voucher. That is the date on which I go and buy the voucher from the particular mall. That is, in my example, it is today. So today, if I go to West Side and if I go to the shoe section and I say, I want to gift my friend a shoe up to rupees 2,500. So I make them payment of 2,500 and they give me the voucher on which they have specifically mentioned that this voucher can be used only for purchasing shoes. That is a specific voucher. The time of supply is today itself. That is the date when voucher is issued. And where it is a general voucher, where I go to the counter of the cash counter of the West Side, and I go and tell them that you give me voucher of 2,500 so that my friend can come and buy anything from West Side. So the friend may buy any electronic gadget or any wearing apparel or shoes or glares or cosmetic, whatever. In that particular case, it is general voucher. The time of supply is date of redemption. So in my example, it will be February. That is the date when you go and you actually buy something, because only on that day, it will be clear that this 2,500 is for what? See the logic of this. The logic of this is very clear. If it is a specific voucher, today itself, it is known that this 2,500 is for shoes. So time of supply is today, that is date of issue. But if it is a general voucher where you can buy anything in the entire mall, then I do not know what is the item which would be purchased or sold against this voucher, then how will we pay tax? So in that case, today is not the time of supply, that is the date of issue. It will be the date when you go to the mall and actually purchase those goods or services, because only on that date will come to know the exact nature of supply so that the correct tax can be calculated. So in that case, the time of supply is the date of redemption of the voucher. I hope this is clear to everyone. The
Yes,
answer is
Darshan.
same whether it is voucher for goods or whether it is voucher for service. Yes, beta.
Clear, sir.
Okay. Now Mansha had put a question. Sir, vouchers, please explain this. Is it actionable claim? Now see, please understand this. Vouchers actionable claim or not is a total different set of discussion. We will not get into that. If yes, but if you want my answer, my understanding is vouchers are not actionable claims. So there are different contrary views. Some consultants feel that it is an actionable claim. My understanding is it is not actionable claim. In other words, there is no tax on the voucher per se. The voucher is only a medium of payment. So we should not consider the voucher as a commodity. See, this question will come that whether it is actionable claim or not when you want to treat the voucher as a commodity. According to me, voucher is not a commodity. It is like a check. So instead of giving a check, you are having this voucher where you give this check or you give this voucher which represents your payment. So if you want to know whether voucher is actionable claim, try to link this question with check. Will you call a check an actionable claim? If your answer for check is yes, your answer for voucher will be yes, which I believe is not the case. Correct? Then we come to the next time of supply. This is for interest, penalty, late fees for late payment of consideration. Now, what is this? Let us first understand. Now, the point is, what is this? We have to first understand that so that you'll understand what I'm trying to explain. Now, the point is that I sold some goods to you. Let us say I sold electronic gadgets. Let us say it is laptop, where I have given the credit of 2 months. So if I'm selling it today, I want that you make the payment by 12th of Feb. This is the terms on which I have sold you laptop. Laptop is of 2 lakh rupees, on which the GST is 18%. Now, you are supposed to make payment by 12th of February, but you delay. And you make payment to me in the month of April after a delay of around 2.5 months. Now, when you come to make payment in the month of April, which is the end of April, so it is around 2.5 months delay, I say, okay, fine. You are making payment, but you remember that I had given you only 2 months credit and you are making me payment after 4.5 months. So it is effectively a delay of 2.5 months. For this delay, we had already agreed that if you are making payment late, I will charge you some amount like interest, or you can call it as penalty, or you can call it as late fee. You can call it by any name, charges, fees, whatever. But it is for what? Because you have made the payment of consideration late. So where your consideration payment is delayed, it is late, we are charging this interest. Now, what will be the time of supply of this interest? The time of supply of this interest is date of receipt of this interest, penalty, late fees, whatever you call it. Now, first important clarification, we have already studied that interest on loan, deposit, advance is exempt. But here we are talking about time of supply because this is taxable. Please understand this, students. This is not interest for any loan, advance, or deposit. It is interest because you are making payment of my consideration late. In fact, when after this chapter we'll go to the next chapter of valuation, you'll get to know that this late fees, interest, whatever we are saying, is considered as part of value of supply of goods or services. So in my example, I had originally supplied what? My supply was supply of goods, that is laptop. So if you are making payment for this laptop late, if you are making payment delayed, and for that you are paying me some interest, penalty, late fees, or whatever name you are calling this payment as, but it is representing the payment for getting late, then this interest penalty, as per section 15 bracket 2, that is the valuation part which we'll study in the next lecture. As per this section, this interest, penalty, late fees is considered as additional consideration for the original supply of laptop. So I will have to pay tax on this interest, penalty, fees as if it is additional amount which I'm receiving for laptop, and it will be paid according to the date of receiving this. So today I have sold you the laptop. I have paid tax on the laptop today, which is of 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs is the price of laptop. I have paid the GST of laptop today. But when you'll make me the late payment at end of April of this 2.5 months interest, I will raise at that time supplementary invoice or debit note to represent this interest portion, but it will not be taxed as interest. It will be taxed as supply of laptop consideration, which is received extra. So let us say for this 2.5 months, I'm charging you 10,000 rupees as interest. So this 10,000, when you will pay me at the end, April end, I will charge you tax on that 10,000, and that 10,000 will be taxable as value of laptop only. This is as per 15.2, that this interest would be considered as part of value of original supply. And this time of supply provision says it will be considered or it will be taxable on the date on which you actually receive this. So see, voucher is done. Time of supply, to the extent it relates to addition in the value of supply by way of interest, late fee, penalty for delayed payment of consideration shall be the date on which the supplier receives such addition in value. So the time of supply for this additional amount, which is additional amount by way of interest, penalty, and what type of interest? It is not interest on loan. It is interest for making this payment late. It will be firstly considered as the value of supply of original supply, because it will be considered as additional value. So in my example, it is laptop. So I will treat it as additional consideration of laptop. In other words, I will charge the duty of laptop only. It is not interest for me. It is additional value of laptop. This is what this provision means. I hope this is clear. I forgot to write the section number. It is 12.6 and 13.6. Right? Now, with this, all provisions of time of supply are over. Now, what is left is the residuary provision. What is the residuary provision saying? Where it is not possible to determine the time of supply under subsection 2, which is forward charge, subsection 3, which is reverse charge, subsection 4, which is voucher. So where time of supply could not be determined for any of these, the time of supply shall be. Now this is the residuary provision, that where the above provisions fail or you are not able to determine the value of as per the above provisions, then the time of supply shall be. In case where periodical returns have to be filed, it will be the date on which such return is to be filed, or in any other case, it will be the date on which tax is paid. So this is the residuary provision. Same provision you'll find in services also. Where it is not possible to determine the time of supply of service under subsection 2, that is regular, subsection 3, subsection 2, that is forward, subsection 3, that is reverse, and subsection 4, that is in case of voucher, it shall be in case where periodical return has to be filed, the date on which such return is to be filed, or in any other case, the date of payment of tax. So this is the last point, which is the residuary rule. In this A and B are clauses. Yes, beta. So final is time of supply, residuary provision, section 12.5 if it is of goods, 13.5 it is of service, where section 12 or 13 subsection 2, that is forward charge, subsection 3, that is the reverse, okay, I'll write RCM, or subsection 4, that is for voucher, fails, TOS shall be as per clause A, where periodical returns are to be filed. It is due date of returns, and B, any other case, date of payment.
Sir,
So-
I have a doubt here, sir.
Yes, please tell me.
Sir, we are determining time of supply for making the tax payment. And here it is saying date of payment means payment of tax or
Good question. See, I believe it is the date of payment of tax only. See, I'll go back to the section. What does it say? In other cases, be the date on which tax is paid. So it is the date of payment of tax, not the date of payment of consideration.
so then it looks little, I think the logic is missing. Am I right, sir?
Correct. You're right. They should have written the date on which tax was payable instead of writing the date on which tax is paid, because tax is paid today. So the time of supply will become today. Correct. This is what you want to say. Na? The time of supply should not be the date of payment. It is the date on which the tax was payable. I think you mean to say this, right?
No, sir. I am saying we are finding out the time of supply to determine when the tax has to be paid.
Correct.
And now it is saying the date on which tax has to be paid. What
So
is
it means
this?
what? See, I'll tell you what, when this rule is applicable. This subsection 5 is applicable generally in cases where somebody is a tax evader. And now there is some search or raid on that particular person, and it is found out that he evaded tax intentionally. Now, if he evaded tax and during the search or raid, if I find out the documents by which I can find out time of supply as per above provisions, no problem. But since he was a tax evader, he has also not maintained the documents, or whatever documents he has maintained, he destroyed them. Now, in this particular case, I will come to subsection 5, and subsection 5 will say that, okay, in that particular case, check if any periodical return was to be filed. If yes, take the return date. If not, then today will be the date of today will be time of supply. Why today? Because I will be recovering tax today from that particular person. So that particular date will be today, and it will become time of supply. But I also do not concur to this, because in fact, if this provision is for tax evaders, then they should consider this as the date on which the tax was payable. So it means the date on which you have made this particular supply. But then why again logically I feel this is correct? Because since you have not made any records, no records were kept. Let us say only I found cash money with you. So if only cash money is found with you, that is the only proof by which I am trying to say that, okay, you have evaded tax, because otherwise I have no other proof. There is no entries found, nothing. Only either I found cash or I found something written in your diary which gave me an impression that, okay, you have sold something worth rupees 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, but nothing is written about the date or anything. In such a case, how will I find out? So then best is, when we are doing this action, we are recovering the tax, that date will become the date of time of supply. This is how I can find the logic of this particular provision. Because where no dates are available, then how you will tax it? You have to find some date. So then the date is today. That is the date when I'm recovering tax.
Okay, sir. Okay.
That is the only logic. See, if you think it like this, that if it is for tax evaders, and if that person has no document at all, the only thing which I found is either some entry written is any of his diary, or I found cash. Only through that, I'm saying that, okay, he would have done some supply and this money has come from that supply. But then I have no other record, no other date. Then the best is today is the date. That is the date when I recover the tax.
Okay, sir.
Understood?
Yeah, understood, sir.
So these are the different provisions relating to time of supply. So it is section 12 for goods, supply of goods, section 13 for supply of service. And in that we studied forward charge, reverse charge, then time of supply where transaction is done through vouchers, then time of supply for interest, that is for delayed payment charges. And last is the residuary rule. Along with this, we studied the provisions of 31. So indirectly section 31 itself entirely is covered here. We'll read that again when we go to the topic of invoice and documents. So with this, we complete the entire time of supply provisions. And in the next lecture, we'll proceed with this part ahead and we'll go to value of supply. So from my side, that's it for today. Please read this whole chapter, go through all the provisions and the examples given in this topic. So if there are any doubts, we'll first take up that in the next lecture, and then we will proceed to the next topic, that is value of supply. So thank you very much. Good night, everyone, and take care of yourself and keep studying.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Okay, thank you. Good night. Session over, sir.